Ready. Good morning, everybody. Nice to see everybody here on a bright and cheerful on a Monday morning. We're going to go ahead and call today's meeting to order. This is the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners. It's August 5th, 2024 at 9:00 a.m. If everybody could please stand with me for the pledge to the flag. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
And thank you. In this part of the agenda, we take a brief moment of silence. This is a moment for individual prayer, reflection, or meditation. We take this time to honor and remember our first responders and the men and women in our military who keep us safe and protect our freedoms at home and abroad. All right, thank you very much. If it's okay with the board, we're going to add a new item, which is 5.0 in the recognition proclamations presentations. We're going to have a brief video for the beach renourishment update. So if that's okay with everybody.
Yes.
All right, great.
What paragraph? Not 5.
We're going to do 5, item 5 under 4C.
Shouldn't it be 4?
Okay, got it. 4, under 4.
4, right?
Yeah.
4.
Got it. Got it.
All right, so we will move to our announcements. Got a few. Hold on one second. Let's see, the groundbreaking, right, was supposed to be today, has been moved to, what was the correct date? 12th? All right, so it's 12th at 1 p.m., and that'll be the groundbreaking for the Nexus Center, which will be right down the street at the Commerce Central Parkway. The Parks and Recreation fees, which were tabled for today, are not on the agenda. Parks and Rec Department will be reaching out to community members for feedback, and we will hold a workshop later this fall to discuss the issue again before a final decision is made. Please visit flaglercounty.gov to view our transparency dashboards. We've got board vacancies, the Citizens Advisory Board, different citizen advisory boards. Aircraft noise abatement is one of the portals, and that is for reports of airplane noise. We have capital projects. You can click on the capital projects and see all the different statuses for the capital projects and the funding mechanisms. And drainage maintenance is another portal that you can click, and it goes through all the different drainage projects that are underway. Upcoming commission meetings, workshops, and special meetings. Today we have a workshop at 2 p.m. We have a joint County Commission and Planning Board meeting on Tuesday, August 13th at 5 p.m. And that is, the topic is the comprehensive plan. And then our next regular meeting is Monday, August 19th at 5 p.m. All right, and we will move on to our recognitions. First recognition is the 2024 Flagler County Leadership Graduates, and this is presented by Holly Albanese, our Assistant County Administrator. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. First Chair, I have to correct the groundbreaking for the Nexus Center is August 12th, but it's at 10 a.m.
10 a.m., thank you.
Yeah, we were trying to avoid the heat of the day and afternoon storms if we could. So just wanted to make sure the public was aware of that. So thank you for allowing us to do this today. The Leadership Academy, and that's what this is, started in April. Of course, it was the brainchild of the HR department along with county administration to create a new program. And so it started in April and ended in June 21st, with the leadership retreat. I have a small presentation, and then I'd like to call up all the graduates to be recognized and get a picture with the commission. So first of all, we're excited to share with you the launch of this new Leadership Academy. The program offers tailored training modules for employees ranging from entry level to senior management, with focus on innovative leadership practices, collaboration, and personal growth. The Leadership Excellence and Development, also known as LEAD, those classes were for senior management level. And then the Leadership Initiative for Tomorrow, or LIFT, were classes for any employee at the employee level. So the Leadership Excellence and Development was a program. It was created to interact county employees currently in management roles, in the competencies needed to prepare for future leadership, and it's a way to plan for, progression. So some of the training modules that we covered were customer service, generational differences, adaptability change, communication, messaging, empathy, character, and trust. So this is just an example of the schedule for the LEAD program. As you can see, there were 5 levels of leadership in week 1. Some of the other programs included how do you adapt to change, what drives this train in your team, how do you communicate with employees and coworkers, let's talk empathy and how do you collaborate, and how leaders can make you feel safe or trusted. So the next one, which was LIFT, this one was valuable leadership discussions, inspiring talks, interactive workshops, networking opportunities. It was designed to help them grow and excel in their work area, and eventually leadership skills to take them to the next level. And some of these training modules that were covered were effective communication, time management, conflict resolution, trust, respect, and being a team player. So here's an example of the class schedule, and they had 10 weeks of classes, and they had things like emotional intelligence, dealing with change, trusting yourself and others, 5 dysfunctions of team, effective communication, and what motivates you. So then we went on to hold a leadership retreat where we had 3 guest speakers. Mike Lagasse, who was our Assistant Director for General Services, was one of the guest speakers, along with Kevin Snyder and Tony Moore, and I'll talk a little bit more about them. But everybody spent the day and got to hear from really some empowering speakers that day. So just to talk about them, each one individually. Kevin is a best-selling author and motivational speaker who who lives to inspire. He actually spoke to over 1 million people in all 50 states, and he had early struggles with depression and an eating disorder, and he turned all of that into a personal journey. He went into academia and he taught at schools like Embry-Riddle, UCF, and then he went on to speaking, and he's been awarded many speaking accreditations and other awards for his speaking. Tony Moore, he's known as the culture architect. He worked for a corporate company for 25 years. He worked in operations and human resources. And through this experience, he kind of realized that culture was one of the driving forces in any organization. It's the, as he called it, the soil in which everything in the organization lives or dies. And so he speaks a lot to culture. And then our own Michael Lagasse, a St. Johns County native and a lifelong resident of Florida. He's done several different jobs within Flagler County. He was big on water quality, and one of the things that he did was working with North Carolina Department of Environmental and Natural preparedness. He worked with underserved communities to build septic tanks to help water quality in the mountain streams. Here at Flagler County, he started in 2011. He was land manager, project supervisor, public lands and natural resources manager, and of course, the assistant director of general services. So this is just an image at the conference, so you can see one of our speakers and the group. Now, this is Tony Moore. What he spoke about was a lot on leadership and discomfort are inseparable. We learned about the word Ubuntu. All of our actions have an impact on each other in society. I am because you are. Then he provided us with 3 quotes that were meaningful. People are the bridge between strategy and execution. Leaders either support or destroy the bridge. Quote 2, failure is the opportunity to begin again more intelligently. And the 3rd quote is everything's a 10 or nothing is a 10. And he said, who you are as a leader is more important than any competency you possess. Again, this is another picture of the group, and I believe that's Kevin Snyder up front. Another picture of the group, Kevin Snyder. So Kevin Snyder, one of the things we learned about him was he was obsessed with The Price is Right. This was one of his major stories that he told the group that day. He and his mom, when he was younger, would watch the show every day while having lunch. And he said, you know, what teenager knows the price of Metamucil in preparation age? Well, he did. And he said, when you want to be good at something, you practice. If you want to be great at something, you practice even more. He told his mom that one day he was going to meet Bob Barker on The Price is Right. He even scheduled his classes in college around The Price is Right, and he did his first paper, college paper, about The Price is Right, to which his teacher told him, Kevin, in all my years teaching, this is one of the best papers I have ever read, but you're obsessed with this show. You need help. So his lesson earned, as he said, is you truly want to motivate someone, identify and acknowledge something they are really good at. Tell them then, watch what happens. Well, 10 years after setting the goal of being on The Price is Right, he ordered his tickets, skipped his college graduation just to drive across the country from North Carolina. But Bob Barker was sick that day, and so the show was canceled. So he went home really down, but he went ahead and he ordered more tickets one more time, and he flew back 3 months later. And this time, the gate was open. And so what he learned was persistence through adversity is the secret of winners. He went on that day. These are pictures of him there that day playing The Price is Right, and he left winning $5,000. Just to share with you, this is just a picture of the room, their diplomas that we had, because they were each handed a certificate and a padded folder along with a challenge coin for Leadership Academy. And then that is the list of all our leadership graduates for Flagler County for the LEAD and LIFT program. And now I'd like to call them up. One group at a time. I'm going to ask them to stand in front here, and then if we could, I'd really love to get a picture. And so for leadership, which is LEAD, Leadership Excellence and Development, I'm going to call your names now. Please come on up. Devry Paradowski, Brian Eichinger, Chris Torres, Robert Vergara, Taylor Phillips, Pia Thomas, Percy Sales, Laura Valencia, and Carlos Hernandez. Those are all our LEAD graduates. Now I'm going to call up, thank you. I'm going to call up LIFT too, and we're going to have a one big picture. So this one is called Leadership Initiative for Tomorrow, or LIFT. The graduates of this program are Brooklyn Riley, Brandy Allen, Jerry Smith, Deborah Morgan, Carly Rodriguez, Leanne Burke, Michael Catalano, Stephanie McMahon, and Mark Giblin. Please come on up and be recognized. Thank you, everybody. It was great, and congratulations. And just briefly, I'd like to say thank you to County Administration and the Commissioners for allowing the employees to have this benefit. And also, I want to give a big shout out to the HR staff. Could you please come up here and be recognized, Anita and Kelly? They did a lot of work to make this happen, especially with the leadership retreat. And I think it's important that we recognize all the staff. Even if they didn't participate in the actual leadership program, they brought it to fruition. So thank you. Thank you, Commissioners. If you have any questions.
Comments? Anybody? I just wanted to, go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, it's a great program. I went, a number of us have been here while this program's been going on, and it really does help make our staff even better than it already is.
Great.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I mean, professional development and leadership growth is really important internally to make sure that, we promote from within as openings occur and we get the right people in the right spot. So I appreciate staff administration putting this together. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you to the graduates. Good job.
Thank you.
Our first proclamation is Purple Heart Day, which is August 7th, 2024. This was requested by Dave Lyden, our Veteran Services Officer. Is Mr. Lyden here?
He was in here, but he's left. We may go find him.
All right. We can go ahead with the, well, there's some people here anyway, so did you want to come up? Or see if we can find Mr. Lyden, and then you want to go ahead with the
I'll
proclamation?
go ahead. Yes, this is a proclamation of the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners proclaiming August 7th, 2024 as Purple Heart Day in Flagler County. Whereas the original Purple Heart, known as the Badge of Military Merit, is the oldest American military decoration in the world. And whereas the Purple Heart was established by General George Washington at Newburgh, New York on August 7th, 1782, during the Revolutionary War as an incentive to the Continental Army, and it was the first award made available to the common soldier to recognize outstanding valor or merit. And whereas following nearly 150 years of disuse, the Purple Heart was reestablished by the United States President Herbert Hoover per the War Department General Order Number 3, dated February 22nd, 1932. And whereas the Purple Heart has been awarded to approximately 1.7 million military members of the U.S. Armed Forces who were wounded by an instrument of war in the hands of the enemy, and posthumously to the next of kin in the name of those who were killed in action or died from wounds received in action. And whereas Flagler County has been designated a Purple Heart community since 2018, and there have been many former residents who have paid the ultimate sacrifice in giving their lives in the cause of freedom. And there are numerous combat wound veterans residing in Flagler County who, as Purple Heart recipients, contribute to their community in countless ways. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners that they hereby proclaim August 7th, 2024 as Purple Heart Day, and we recognize August 2024 as Purple Heart Month in Flagler County. Adopted this 5th of August and attested to by Tom Bexley, our clerk, and Andy Dance, our chair. While we're getting them up, gentlemen, I make a motion to approve the resolution proclaiming August 7th as Purple Heart Day in Flagler.
Second.
All right, I have a motion by Commissioner Pennington, second by Commissioner Sullivan. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Mr. Lyden, did you have anything to say?
I'll leave it up to Charlie Hanger, Purple Heart recipient. Help yourself, Charlie.
I like to watch my audience. On behalf of all of our Purple Heart members in the county, and there are quite a few, do we have any in the audience right now? Please stand and be recognized, brothers. It's truly an honor for myself to be the recipient for this time. And oh, by the way, I want to thank the county for giving us a whole month of recognition as opposed to just August 7th here in the county. And on behalf of all the Purple Heart veterans and all of the veterans who are, quite frankly, numerous here in the county, we say thank you. And I will post this proudly somewhere in one of the organizations, either DAV, VFW, American Legion. I don't know who's next. Last year, the DAV got this one. So again, thank you, and God bless, and thank you to all the county commissioners.
Good, the gentleman want to come up? Did you want to invite the other Purple Heart gentlemen?
Any Purple Heart fans, come on up.
Thank you, Mr. O'Brien. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Commissioners, any comments?
No, thank you very much
Thank you.
for their service.
Yep. Thank you, sir. Thank you for bringing that forward, Mr. Lyden. Thank you, gentlemen, for your service. Appreciate it. Our first presentation is the AAA Guardian of Life Award. This is presented to Tyson Landon for his community problem-solving project, the Middle Division Arrive Alive, to be presented by John Askins, the FDOT District 5 Law Enforcement Liaison. So Mr. Askins could not make it, so I will give the background on the award. Tyson, if you wanted to come on up. And Mom, you want to come up too, or are you just going to take pictures? Okay. So a little bit of background on this. During our community traffic safety team meeting, Tyson had presented his project, and our liaison, Mr. Askins, was, as always, was at the meeting and was impacted by Tyson's project. So this is a little bit of the background on the Guardian of Life Award. The Guardian of Life Award is given in recognition of those traffic safety partners and community members who take a proactive approach towards promoting a safer driving experience on our roadways. The Guardian of Life Award is intended for specific, articulable efforts to promote safe roadways, educate drivers, engage teen drivers and their parents in traffic safety, or focus on improving local community traffic safety concerns. The award recognizes those who make a difference in traffic safety and encourages everyone to be mindful of our duties to promote the safe use of our Florida roadways. And on this cover of the award, it's actually a coin, are these words: "If better is possible, good is not enough," which is a quote by Benjamin Franklin that embodies the mindset: we are not accepting the status quo and are working to save lives and reduce serious injury crashes in Florida. It has the Arrive Alive tag, which also happens to be the name of your project. Whereas every traveler's goal, arriving alive, reminds us that we are not only in control of safety in our vehicles, but also those around us on the roadways. Don't drink, text, or be distracted and drive. Those words, those are major contributors to crashes and in need of our attention. This is AAA is also on the logo, is on the coin. This award is funded by AAA through a grant here in Florida. Tyson is an incoming ninth grader. Where are you going, Tyson?
Kansas High School.
Okay, Matanzas High School. But this future problem-solving project called Arrive Alive was done as he was an eighth grader at Indian Trails Middle School. It garnered the attention of Mr. Askins and others within FDOT. Tyson's project was, if you can clarify for me, I know at state level and international, what were your awards, please?
What do you mean, like
First place, right? You got first at international.
first place at international competition in Bloomington, Indiana?
Right. Which was a competition from people all over the world come together in one spot and compete. So with that, I will come down and present you your award, and want to thank you again for your work to promote safety, especially amongst our school students, but also parents who use the roadways in and around our schools. So thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'm not sure what the project was.
That's a great point. Go ahead, Tyson, and explain your project.
So Arrive Alive was made to ensure that students can arrive and depart from school safely, because around Indian Trails Middle School there are many safety hazards, and I personally have seen problems because I did bike and walk to school, and I did almost get hit by a car while going home. So that's kind of where that came from, and that's kind of what the project was about.
And actually led to the city of Palm Coast doing some safety upgrades, right?
Yes, they did put in flashing beacon lights around the schools and moved the flashing beacon lights back about 20 to 40 yards so that the school zone was a little bit bigger, and so kids had more room.
Great. Well, thank you. Let me come down. If you guys want to get behind me, and we'll get the picture. I'll present this.
Hey, one other question, Tyson. Were you that tall when you started eighth grade?
I was just a little bit. I was like 2 inches shorter.
I'm sure your parents are proud of you, but now they also have to keep adjusting your wardrobe, I guess.
I bet you were the tallest competitor. Ninth grade. Good luck.
Tyson, congratulations.
Yeah.
Our next presentation is the Flagler County Fire Rescue Life Mission Lifeline Awards, and this is presented by Chief Tucker from Flagler County Fire Rescue. Good morning, Chief.
Good morning, Chairman Dance, members of the commission. It's good to be here. We would also like to add our appreciation for the efforts of Tyson as well. Anytime we can prevent, an accident, it's a good day. But there are times that we can't prevent things. So that is part of the reason that we're here to present to the commission, the Mission Lifeline Gold Award from the American Heart Association. And just to give you a little background on the award itself, it is given by the American Heart Association. It's one of their national initiatives, and it recognizes an agency's system of care. And it's focused on acute and high-risk, life-threatening diseases. This includes issues of ST elevation, myocardial infarction, fancy names, basically heart attack, stroke, and out-of-patient medical cardiac arrest. And so when we talk about the system of care, though, it's more than just the emergency responders. It's more than just the ambulance that we put the patient into. It's more than the paramedics and EMTs that respond to the patients. It is appreciative of, it recognizes the hospitals, for their ability to provide services once we transport them to the appropriate medical facility. And that includes strokes going to comprehensive stroke centers and cardiac arrest patients being transported to where they can get treatment for the specific type of cardiac event that they're having. It includes the citizens as well. those who include CPR, early recognition, early activation of the 911 system, early CPR, and early defibrillation. So this happens long before we're ever even notified about an emergency. It includes the members of the community. And it also includes the members of the BOCC, because you all are the individuals who give us the resources to do what we do and to deliver the care that we deliver. And I can tell you now that as of today, which we'll find out in a couple of minutes here, there are individuals that are alive today because of the things that you allowed us to do and gave us the resources to do the things that we do. And we appreciate that so much. And one of the things I want to close out with is, as of today, we will actually be submitting the purchase order for what they call a Lucas device to put onto 9 of our rescues, our ambulances. And it's a CPR-assisted device. Again, effective CPR is about doing it right as much as you possibly can. And even though firefighters and paramedics do a great job of doing CPR, in a moving ambulance, on the move, it's a challenging thing to do. So the addition of these Lucas devices are going to even increase the proficiency of our CPR even more. And again, this comes because you allow us to do and give us the resources to do the things that we do. So members of the commission, I'd like to present you all with the American Heart Association Gold Award for Mission Lifeline. So
Thank you.
thank you. So
Come on up for a picture.
before I do, I brought him up, but I almost forgot to introduce him. This is Lieutenant John Moskowitz, who oversees a lot of our community, our CPR programs, our American Heart Association efforts. And he's the one who sort of manages making sure that the American Heart Association knows what we do so that they can give you all this award. So I'm going to ask him to be involved in the picture, as well. But I'm not going to make him talk.
Unless he wants to. You guys hold it.
Thank you, John. And again,
I think it's important too to do that work, to be able to get recognized, because it tells the story of the department and what you're doing, and these opportunities help us get that word out about all the good work that the fire rescue personnel are doing. So thank you.
Thank you. So with that being said, we'll move on to some exciting stuff.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and ask the individuals who are going to receive one of these awards to come up so that we save a little bit of time and not having to call them up. That'd be you guys. One of the things that you'll see, we actually had 15 individuals who were supposed to receive a life-saving award today. About half came. We don't make them come to these awards. And firefighters and paramedics really do not like the limelight, so they tend to shy away, even though it's really good to recognize, them for their efforts. So I'm going to read a little bit of this scenario that led to them receiving, this award. The first one is Javon Jones. He's the big guy standing next to me. And Colin Arrett. And on June 7th, Rescue 22, the unit they were assigned to, responded to a call for male in cardiac arrest. Their care and coordination with Palm Coast Fire Department resulted in a successful return of spontaneous circulation. And you'll hear that sometimes referred to as ROSC in the medical world. And they transported the patient to the emergency room. Follow-up on the patient found that he was transferred to Advent Health Daytona Beach on June the 11th and was discharged to rehab on June the 18th with only a short-term memory loss, and ultimately discharged home on 6/27. And the individuals involved in that call were Javon Jones and Colin Arrett. So, Javon, I'm going to give you this award.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing that I want to point out is that besides the fact that Javon is really big, I like to stand next to him, is the fact that he's a graduate of our Flagler Palm Coast Fire Leadership Academy and is now a paramedic and delivering care. So that is a phenomenal story. I know, Chairman Dance, you've been involved in that program, very early on. So it's just neat to see how they begin to serve in society. And again, Javon, somebody's life is different because you were involved. So thank you. So I want to make sure I'm getting them in the right order because they didn't stand in the right order. So The next one was actually given to Kevin Burnell and Carter Peters. He's the gentleman to the left with the perfect hair. So firefighters Burnell and Peters were assigned to Rescue 25, which is our most recent rescue that was assigned to Station 25. We put that back in service in the first week of April. So that is very important, in this specific situation, because when we talk about time, the presence of that rescue made a difference in this call. They were actually coming on duty when they heard the call go down. Another unit was actually dispatched to it. I won't explain why the computer picked the other unit, but this crew recognized that they were the closest unit and actually, quote unquote, jumped, the call, which again aided in the survival of the patient. Upon arrival, they found the patient unresponsive and what we call agonally breathing. Agonally breathing is a term that we use for essentially they were at death is where they were at. So a quick interaction. They found the patient in VFib, and Rescue 25 was quick to employ defibrillation, which resulted in a quick return of pulses for the patient. They made patient contact at 8:01, and they had return of spontaneous circulation at 8:06. So in a matter of 5 minutes, the patient was alive again, making for a quick resuscitation effort with results provided the patient the best chance for survival and a good prognosis. And again, it is about speed sometimes, and they were able to make this happen. The interesting thing about this call in particular is this individual is actually one of our former volunteer firefighters. So that's just another neat aspect into the call. But Carter is one of our firefighter EMTs, currently in paramedic school, and hopefully in the near future, he will be just like Javon, out saving the world and doing good things. So Carter, thank you. The next one involves Alex Alvarez. They responded to a 19-year-old female found with bystander CPR initiated. Quick defibrillation led to return of spontaneous circulation about 4.5 minutes after they arrived at the patient's side. Patient was transported without further incident and was released, from the hospital. And Alex is another one of our newer members of the department and our newer paramedic, but he is making a big impact. He's got a great reputation in the department. So, Alex, thank you for what you do. The next one involves Miss Evelyn Hendrickson and Lieutenant Corey Bauman, actually. And this one is a little bit longer of a narrative, but Rescue 92, which comes out of the airport, was dispatched to Plantation Bay for heat exhaustion and related notes. And I will tell you that I was listening to the radio on this particular call, and the notes that were coming into the CAD that they see on the screen were different than what they showed up to find. And sometimes the 911 callers do their best to give us the information as they see it, but sometimes it's not accurate. So the crew was responding thinking that they were headed to a heat exhaustion call. The crew made contact with a male patient who was alert at the time with an AED applied and no shocks advised by the AED or delivered by bystanders. The male reportedly had become very nauseated while playing pickleball and suffered a brief syncopal episode. He passed out. The patient was being mobilized by crew to the ambulance on stretcher when the patient went unresponsive. And he went into cardiac arrest and CPR was commenced. Patient was in VFib on the first monitor check and defib due to witnessed arrest. After one round of CPR and ventilations, patient converted to a sinus rhythm, awoke, and became gradually more alert and conscious. And patient was they say Glasgow coma score 15. He was wide awake, is what that means. And he remained alert throughout subsequent care. And the patient, the cardiac monitor reflected what they call STEMI, which when we can identify that early on in the process, it allows us to notify the hospital and they get other things in place. Patients receive faster care. The patient was stable upon turnover to the care at the ER and subsequently dispatched from the hospital. And this goes to Evelyn. And thank you for what you do, Evelyn.
Thanks so much.
Oh, Zach. So this call involved Xavier Awe and Zach Suarez. Rescue 22 was dispatched to cardiac arrest. Crew took over CPR from a layperson bystander doing CPR. And again, I referenced that system of care that involved the citizens as well that were on scene, verifying that a full code was in place. And the crew provided resuscitative efforts, obtained the return to spontaneous circulation, and a good prognosis was announced at the turnover of care, and the patient was subsequently administered, or discharged, from the hospital, And again, Zach, thank you for what you do for the citizens of Flagler County. I'm going to hand them their awards here as well, so we can get a picture. I actually had all this mapped out until some of them didn't show and they threw me out of order. So.
Of course, it was the last one.
Yes, it was. So, again, commissioners, we thank you for supporting us, giving us the resources that we need to do the job and to serve the citizens, of Flagler County.
Thank you. Congratulations again. Commissioners? Commissioner Hanson.
Yeah, I'm not sure which two of your people, but you responded and took care of my wife on Thursday, and she said that the kids were just wonderful. She had a broken kneecap and a fractured face. So her face was really messed up, but they got her to the hospital quickly, and she's out of surgery, and she's recovering now. But well done from my standpoint, personal standpoint. You guys did a great job.
Appreciate all the, it's good to hear those notes too about our internal work with the school district and the fire academy and the men and women making a big impact here locally in the health and safety of our citizens. So thank you. It's a good program, and thank everybody for coming out and for your awards. Appreciate it. Next presentation is the Flagler County 2024 National Community Survey results, and this will be presented by Jorge Salinas, our Deputy County Administrator. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. This is the first time that Flagler County has conducted a countywide community survey. I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge and appreciate the Board of County Commissioners and Ms. Petito, our County Administrator, for having the vision and support to conduct this important countywide survey. Also, I want to appreciate our Flagler County staff, which includes all departments, the Sheriff's Office, municipal partners, that with their commitment, hard work, and contribution to our community has made it possible for Flagler County to rank very good amongst communities in the U.S. and establish a solid benchmark that would allow us to compare our ongoing process with the county moving forward. So Flagler County partnered with Polco, which is a company that owns the National Community Survey platform. They also partner with ICMA as well as the National League of Cities. I just want to provide a little reference of what a type of company this is. Why do we do surveys? We want to collect data to monitor trends, to measure government performance, to use this information to help inform our strategic plan, budget, as well as compare our performance against other communities out in the country. The areas that were considered and evaluated during this survey were public safety, transparency, transportation, natural resources, community engagement, economy, among others. There were two different groups that were evaluated during the survey. The first sample group is a group of 2,000 randomly selected households that were mailed the information with a code to be able to participate in the survey. Out of the 2,000 households that were selected, 317 responded out of this first sample group. That's 17% of the overall response rate. And the results were statistically weighted to reflect Flagler County overall 95% confidence interval with a 5% minus or plus 5% margin of error. Here's a visual representation of where those households that participated on the first group, which is the mail-in survey. So you can see it was a cross-section around across the county, all 5 cities in unincorporated areas, and included a good selection throughout the county. The next group was the open participation survey. It was identical to the random sample survey with 2 small updates. It asked a question to confirm the respondents, whether they were residents and where they heard about the survey. This survey was also open for about 2 weeks, and it closed on April 14th. Total participation for this second group was 1,500 participants. 1,197 for a total with the 2 groups of 1,500 participants that participated in the community survey. The demographics of the survey respondents were compared to those found in the 2020 census and the 2022 American Community Survey estimates for adults in Flagler County. The primary objective of weighting survey data is to make sure that the survey respondents reflect the larger population of the community. And as you can see here, the ages of the distribution, also the area, we have Bunnell, Flagler Beach, Beverly Beach, Palm Coast, and this includes all the unincorporated area as well. The fact that they have a zip code or an address that falls within the cities, that's why it's only the city names in this case. It also talk about house tenure, if they own a house or rent a house, the housing type, sex, and then age of the men and women that participated in this survey. Our survey data is benchmarked against 500 communities with information from respondents, about 50 million respondents that they have in their database. And that's how they compare and ranked the different responses that we were able to generate. Each participant ranked the importance of each of these 10 areas, as well as their opinion on the quality of those services. These results were compared with the national benchmark. Green and light blue represent similar ranking as other communities around the U.S. Gray is lower ranking than most communities, and dark blue represents it higher than most communities around the U.S. So you can see here that in terms of importance, our residents believe that most of these items that were measured are very important to them, and the community design is higher in terms of importance to them. In terms of quality of services they receive, 8 out of the 10 were similar to other communities around the U.S. 2 came a little bit lower, and I'll go into detail on some of those. The entire data set is online with the survey that we just conducted. This is another representation of quality versus importance of those survey data. Flagler County received 4 higher ratings, higher than national benchmarking, 89 similar and 29 lower. So the 4 that were higher were police, sheriff services, and that includes our Flagler County Sheriff's Office and the police departments on both Flagler Beach and Bunnell, because their residents participated. Another one was the emergency preparedness services that prepare the community for natural disaster and other emergency, which is part of the USC under Jonathan Lord. It's higher than national benchmarking. Water resources, beach, lake, ponds, rivers were rated as higher than benchmark. And the ability of path and walking trails was also another one that was rated above national benchmarks. The other sample of similar to national benchmarking were overall economic health of Flagler County, the value of services for the taxes paid to Flagler County, Flagler County as a place to live, cost of living in Flagler County. And then the ones that came a little bit lower, the overall opportunity for education, culture, and arts, adult education opportunities, how safe you feel during wildfires, hurricanes, and other natural disasters, overall quality of infrastructure, utility infrastructure in Flagler County, water, sewer, stormwater, electric, gas, broadband, and use of buses, rail, subway, and other public transportation instead of driving. So I'm going to go and I just did a sampling of all the 10 areas, and I'll go over those and then open up for any questions you might have. So the first one is quality of life. Flagler County as a place to live, 76% of the respondents say that it's excellent or good. The overall quality of life in Flagler County, 70% said it was excellent or good. Overall image and reputation of Flagler County, 58% said it was excellent or good. The next part of this quality of life question is, please indicate how likely or unlikely you are to do each of the following. Remain in Flagler County for the next 5 years. 86% of the respondents said that they are very likely to remain here. Recommend living in Flagler County to someone else. 81% said that they're very likely to recommend Flagler County to someone else. In terms of governance, we have overall customer service provided by Flagler County employees. 75% of the people that were surveyed said that the service is excellent or good. Public information services, 59% said it was excellent or good. The value of services for the taxes paid by Flagler County, 45% said it was excellent or good. Being open and transparent to the public, 31% said it was excellent or good. We're still working on this area, and now we have a complete dashboard with multiple cards that will continue to help improve the communication and transparency for the public. Next one is economy. Flagler County is a place to visit, got a very high rating, 75% excellent or good. And as you can see, overall quality of business and services, 58% said it was excellent or good. Cost of living in Flagler County, 26%. And Flagler County as a place to work, 35% said it was excellent or good. This one, as you can see, the green ones are similar to other benchmarks around the country. And the gray one is that we are a little bit lower on that area. Mobility or transportation within Flagler County, we have, I just selected a sample here as well. Overall quality of transportation system, 49% said it was excellent or good. Ease of walking or biking was 64 and 59 respectively. Ease of travel by car in Flagler County, 55% said it was excellent or good. It's a high number, but it was a little bit lower than other benchmarks in the country. So even though it was a high number. Ease of travel by public transportation in Flagler County, 12% said it was excellent or good. And we know we don't have a bus transportation system for the public here. It's only for disadvantaged individuals that can use that transportation system. Natural environment in Flagler County, overall quality of natural environment in Flagler County, 73% believe is excellent or good. Flagler County open spaces, air quality, and cleanliness of Flagler County were all rated very good and meets the benchmark of similar to other counties. Water resources was 87%, believe is excellent or good, which is higher than other communities around the country. Health and wellness in Flagler County, overall health and wellness opportunity, ability to afford quality food, quality health care, and preventive health care were all similar to other communities in the country. Ability of affordable quality mental health care was 21%, was classified as excellent or good. That was a little bit lower than other communities around the country. Education, arts, culture, opportunities to attend special events was similar to other counties or communities. K-12 education came a little bit lower, even though it was 44% compared to other communities around the country. Public library services had an 84%, a very high rating, but that's expected in terms of the community members wanting and loving the library services. So it came similar to other communities around the country. Inclusivity engagement, which is how engaged are the community members and included in participation in government. Flagler County as a place to retire, 75% rated that excellent or good. Residents' connection and engagement with their community, 44%. Taking care of valuable, vulnerable residents, that's similar to other communities, and also sense of community came similar to other communities. Parks and recreation, the overall quality of park and recreation opportunities, 71%. Availability of path and walking trails came in at 89%, which is higher than most communities in the US. And then recreational opportunities, county parks and recreational centers or facilities came very similar to other communities in the US. Safety in Flagler County, overall feeling of safety in Flagler County, 73%. Police and sheriff services came at 86%. That's higher than most communities around the country. Fire prevention education, 80%. Emergency preparedness, 78%. That's higher than most communities around the country. And fire services, even though it's a 91%, a very high rating, it's similar to other communities around the country. I just wanted to break down this a little bit more in terms of law enforcement in Flagler County. 9 in 10 residents feel safe in their neighborhoods in Flagler County in commercial areas during the day. 7.7 out of 10 residents feel safe from property crimes and violent crimes. 86% rated the quality of police services higher than communities around the country. And 82% rated police crime and prevention as excellent or good services for the county. Fire services in Flagler County, 9.1 in 10 residents feel that Flagler County fire services are excellent or good, and 88% rated EMS services excellent or good. In this particular case, as you can see, the EMS services are provided countywide. This is the only organization that provides EMS services for the county. The fire services are shared. We have our county providing to the city of Bunnell in unincorporated areas. And also the city of Palm Coast provides their own fire department, and the city of Flagler Beach. Emergency preparedness in Flagler County came at 7.8 out of 10. So this is one of the areas that came above ranking in terms of comparing benchmarking with other communities around the country. Great effort by Jonathan Lord and his team here. Utilities in Flagler County, garbage collection, 79% say it's excellent or good. Power, electric, and gas utility, 68%. Drinking water came at 48%, ranked as excellent or good, and that's a little bit lower than other parts of the country. Flagler County does not, as a organization, does not maintain any water utilities at this time. In the past they did, but not any longer. Affordable high-speed internet access is at 46%, excellent or good, and sewer services at 66%. Community design, your neighborhood as a place to live, 85% rated as excellent or good. Overall appearance of Flagler County, the court enforcement and also prevention of historical and cultural character of the community was similar as other communities around the country. Overall quality of new development in Flagler County came at 36% as excellent or good, but a little bit lower in comparison to other communities. Residents' participation level here, we also asked them to indicate whether or not they have done each of the following in the past 12 months. And 72% of the participants said they voted in the local election. 53% say they contacted the county or Flagler in person, email, or on the web for help of information. 35% said they watch online or on television a local meeting, which is higher than other parts of the country. Volunteer your time to some group or activities, 27% said they did that. Attended a local public meeting, 22%. Campaign or advocated for a local issue, 17%, which is similar to other parts of the country. And contacted Flagler elected officials in person, phone, email, or web to express your opinion, 14%, which is similar to other parts of the country. Some of the custom questions we asked our participant was, in addition to the standard survey questions, residents were asked to indicate how much they would support or oppose certain types of development efforts. Nearly all residents favor recreational facilities and amenities, followed closely by commercial business and light industrial businesses. When asked about the rate of growth they feel is most appropriate for Flagler County, more than half of the respondents favor moderate growth, pursued modest development in appropriate areas. Another custom question designed to evaluate the importance of the county board's continued investment in certain categories. Community members ranked the following areas as their top 7 options. Public safety, which includes fire and ambulance services, 98% in favor of investing in this area, which is essential and important for them. County street repairs and maintenance, 98%. Utility infrastructure, which is water, sewer, is 96%. Stormwater management, 95% are in support of that. Public safety, law enforcement, 95%. Government transparency, 88%. And beach renourishment, 85%. This is talking about some of the highlights and highest performing areas. I covered some of these at the beginning and some of the lowest in summary. Any questions?
Questions from Mr. Salinas? Anybody?
Well, I just wanted to say that we always put safety as our #1 goal here at the BOCC and the county, and it's nice to see that that's reflected in the views
That's
of our
correct.
population.
That's correct.
Well, I want to thank this being our inaugural attempt at survey data, so we can start benchmarking a lot of the policies and areas of focus through the strategic plan.
Right.
So moving forward, how will we take this data and then start looking at the strategic plan for next year and priorities?
Yeah, we'll look at the areas that were a little bit below that needed to be addressed. We'll try to incorporate those into the strategic plan provided to you and see if that's an area that we should be working on and putting resources into. And the ones that are similar, we can select some of those. And the ones that are higher, we just try to maintain that same rating. Overall, I can say that the ranking that the county received is very good. The residents that were surveyed provided very good feedback and believe that the county is doing a very good job.
Will we be able to look, City of Palm Coast does their own survey, so have we taken the opportunity yet to compare to see if there's similarities? Because obviously ours includes the entire county regardless of city limits.
Yeah, they conducted their survey the same time we did ours, about the same time.
Okay.
And I haven't compared those results.
Are we able to disaggregate the data so we are able to look at just the respondents from the unincorporated part?
What we did was that we did it in a way that we knew which residents were getting the cards for the City of Palm Coast, and we actually selected a different resident with the City of Palm Coast. So the ones that participated in ours was focused on the county, mostly the county services, and the City of Palm Coast selected the group of folks within the city. But I don't know if we can separate it. I can ask the question.
I was just curious. I didn't know if it comes in a set like that, so you can.
Yeah.
I don't need to spend any extra work, but if sometimes the data comes in and you can do that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Okay.
I appreciate that report.
Thank you.
Before we add 5, I just wanted to go ahead and see if I could get a motion to add 5 to the agenda so we officially can modify the agenda. So there's a motion to add the beach video to the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we add the beach presentation as 4C5.
Second.
All right, I have a motion by Commissioner Hanson, seconded by Commissioner Sullivan. All those in favor signify with aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries unanimously. Let us have the beach video, please. right, thank you. Any questions on that?
No?
I will add, going through my photo archives, I shared online a picture from 12 years ago when my kids were playing on the beach, because there's a lot of comments about the color of the sand, but the natural color from that picture over a decade ago shows the combination of the orange coquina and a large swath of gray sand where they were digging and playing. So it is natural, and is verified by some of the old pictures that I keep seeing of the beach and the width of the beach back then. So very interesting that I happened to come across that while we're doing this, but thank you for that. So has the storm affected their progress at all?
Not that I'm aware of. I haven't been out there. I haven't had a chance this morning to talk to staff because of the timing of the meeting, but to my knowledge, I haven't heard anything.
Okay. I know as issues come up, I know staff is very proactive. I've heard about expediting fencings because there was a report about sea turtles climbing the dunes, so expediting the fencing in order to prohibit any sea turtles from crossing the dunes. So just want to thank everybody for, as issues arrive, everybody's very proactive in making sure we stay on task and we solve those problems. So thank you. All right, we have moved to item 5 on the agenda, and this is the time for community outreach. This is a 30-minute time period that's allocated for public comment on any consent item or topic not on the agenda. Each speaker will be allowed up to 3 minutes to address the commission. Speakers should approach the podium, identify themselves, and direct their comments to the chair. So at this time, we'll go ahead and open up public comment, community outreach.
Good morning.
And you're right there. Good morning.
I have dropped off a letter of my background for you all. She will email it to you so you know why I'm speaking the way I am.
Absolutely.
Okay. My name is Wendy Tremarchi. I am a longtime board member and volunteer with the Indian River County and Vero Beach Humane Society. I have recently moved to Flagler and decided to volunteer at the Flagler County Humane Society. With my first trip into the building, many red flags immediately stood out, as I have had a handful of subsequent visits there. Those red flags have escalated. Because of time constraints, I would just give you a few of the bullet points I have of my concerns. All animals, whether sick, injured, or aggressive, being surrendered, along with residents and families visiting the shelter, all enter and exit through the same doorway into a crowded reception area. It's very, very dangerous. Cats in hallways, living in hallways, dogs living in crates on the floor. Our community is growing at a rapid pace. Where is the strategic plan for this organization for space needed in a shelter that is already overcrowded and at more than capacity? Is the answer to euthanize for space? It looks like it. The shelter does not have a foundation or any backup monies. If there's an emergency, where's that money going to come from? And the foundation should be collecting money from the county, not from the county, from donations and investing that, saving it so that capital improvements or any emergencies, that money is there for them to use. If there's an emergency now, the shelter shuts down, where do all those animals go? They have over 50 employees with no accredited HR person in residence. Contagious dogs with kennel cough are present in the shelter currently. Besides not quarantining these dogs, they have been also playing with them in a playgroup in over 100-degree heat, where protocol requires 10 to 14-day quarantine in a calm, quiet, dry area. Why is the vet not telling them these things? Because the vet of record also operates his own mobile vet service. Constant change of board of directors. As of 2 years ago, they're all new. Now, there's no continuity in what's going on in the shelter. Who is the elected treasurer? That is also not there. And this is part of their charter. These positions have to be voted on. On the website, they have the audits. They say are audits for the community to have faith in how they're handling our money. They are not audits, they're their tax returns. So do they not know the difference between an audit and a tax return? I guess not. I just have two suggestions, real quick. One is to require them to have an audit done by an auditing company for at least 2 years and every year going forward. There, through the University of Florida, there is Maddie's Fund. All shelter people are very familiar with that fund. They're about $50 million a year they have. They go into shelters and give a strategic plans and operation consultations for free, and this shelter would qualify for that, at the very least. I'm brand new. I've been in the building 5 times, but my background tells me it's very bad, and it's gonna become this county's problem if something else happens. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. Thank you for leaving that with us.
My name is Sue LaRoe.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Speak into the mic, please.
My name is Sue LaRoe, and I would like to bring attention to the Flagler Humane Society neglect. I'd like to start by saying Guapo. Guapo was a healthy 2-year-old pit bull mix that lost his life to euthanasia at Flagler Humane Society July 8, 2024. Previous to Guapo, there were many others in my 2 years as a volunteer also euthanized, many of them healthy. It is heartbreaking losing a pet, but when it's a healthy dog, it's even harder. Where's the accountability for Flagler Humane Society? They have no protocol in euthanizing pets. Flagler Humane Society's statement on their website is to provide shelter, nourishment, and resources to lost, abandoned, and homeless animals or find them a loving home. Flagler Humane Society is not living out their mission statement. At times, I volunteered 60 hours in a month, walking dogs, cleaning dirty kennels, clean bedding, giving them treats, and most of all, clean water. Much too often, the dogs are not drinking clean water. They're not walked daily. They're not given a fresh, clean bucket of water. Many times their spigot was broken and not trained to help them overcome their struggles from either abuse, abandonment, or neglect. Volunteers are vital at Flagler Humane Society, especially because kennels are always understaffed for the number of dogs living in their care. There is no leadership. The director nor management ever make rounds in the kennels to ensure the dogs are being taken care of and not neglected. In fact, management had hired staff that are a danger to others and the dogs. I experienced an irate staff person yelling at dogs as well as other volunteers. Another staff person told me herself that the dogs are all quiet in the morning when she comes in, and she finds it funny to yell loudly and wake them all up, causing more anxiety in these dogs that desperately need calm. Some desperately need a bit of training. This needs to be evaluated, not thrown in a kennel and leaving them there day after day, little to no love, into surgery without being clean. It's great that Flagler County has a shelter for pets, but who will hold them accountable? Flagler Humane Society is not a no-kill shelter. I believe Flagler County can do a better job of assuring pets are not neglected at a local shelter. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Thank you.
My name is Sam Medjic. I'm president of the Bulow Plantation Homeowners Association, and we appreciate the opportunity of speaking with you today. We want to discuss with you some very troubling infrastructure issues that our senior citizen 55-plus gated land lease community has been beset with for a very extended period of time. Equity Lifestyles, a real estate investment trust that is on the New York State Stock Exchange, owns the land that our homes are situated on. This one-page petition references one of the most serious issues, our compromised water supply infrastructure. There are many other issues as well that, if given the opportunity today, we can briefly discuss with you with other members, such as abandoned homes in our community, as well as some of the trees in our neighborhood, which are the responsibility for ELS to maintain, that pose a real safety hazard to some of our homeowners. I would like to state any doubts that you may have about the sincerity or accuracy of our claims we are sharing with you today can easily be dispelled. We encourage you to contact the Flagler County Building Department regarding the RV park that adjoins our community at 3565 Old Kings Road South, that is also owned by ELS. You will uncover some very serious building violations and fines that have been assessed by that agency. With your permission, I would like to be able to read the one-page petition that we have a copy for you.
Sure, you
as
still
well,
have
with
some
all-
time,
With
absolutely.
signatures.
Mhm.
Okay, so this petition, this is from, again, Bulow Plantation homeowners. This petition and the signatures represent Bulow Plantation homeowners. We are the residents of this community, request at a minimum that the entire water supply system be brought up to current code, including shut-off stations, in order to minimize outages to the homeowners. Recently, 3 such incidences have occurred within the past month alone. Management has advised this will continue as they schedule repairs to the pumping station. Our 55-plus gated community is governed by Florida Statute 723, and the property is owned by Equity Lifestyles, a real estate investment trust on the New York Stock Exchange. The purpose of this petition addresses the neglect of ELS to maintain, update, and/or replace an outdated water systems supply system that is over 50 years old. Recently, our community regional management stated that when ELS purchased the property over 20 years ago, the piping infrastructure was then known to be compromised. When this system fails, all the approximately 281 homes that have water supplies shut down with no time frame when service will return. There is no accommodation by ELS to supply any water to the community, putting all the stress on the senior citizens to fund for themselves and to purchase a bottled water. I have one paragraph left, if I can please finish.
Okay.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it. When service is restored, robocalls and flyers are issued with the following message. Precautionary water, this is quote, precautionary boil water notices, dictates, unquote, dictates the boiling of water for, quote, drinking, cooking, making ice, washing dishes, or brushing teeth, unquote. These notices remain in effect until bacteriological testing renders the water safe, which are in effect for many days. I have other people who would like to also mention some of the other problems of our community. I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Susan McGuire. I'm a resident of the manufactured home community in Bulow. My parents came to Palm Coast back in '87 with a younger brother. As years went on, an older brother moved down, and he moved into Bulow back when it was owned privately and run wonderfully. When they retired and the ELS took over the community, it has changed drastically. When the second boil water notice was sent to me, I called locally the health department. A gentleman named John Bay, who was very helpful, referred me on to Shane Tierney out of Jacksonville. Shane is liaison or lead Northeast and Florida Environmental Protection Agency, and was very familiar with the Bulow water system. The Bulow water system that is operating now was first licensed in 1970. Historical perspective, I was Tyson's age, the young man who got up here and received an award for helping safety at schools. That's how long ago it was. The video game Pong would not be invented for another 2 years. The Vietnam War was still underway. Many of these systems are grandfathered in. We can appreciate that. But without diligence, our investment in our property is at stake. As a senior citizen and taking care of an 87-year-old mom, the cost of purchasing water for me the second time around at $24, and the third time I ended up getting the paper plates because boiling water in big pots, it's not safe, it's not doable. But if you extrapolate that cost out, each time the water is out in Bulow, estimate about $4,850 for the community in personal expenses. Times 3 this past month, it's just under $15,000. Not only is this a drain financially to senior citizens and veterans, and many of our veterans served in the Vietnam War when the water system was being put in, but it's unsafe. It should be addressed. Grandfathering a system in is wonderful, but even life support for a grandfathered system needs to be euthanized. Forgive me for my humor on that. But anything you can do within your purview to facilitate change and upgrade is greatly appreciated. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name's Ann Thompson. I'm here to speak about the Flagler Humane Society. I started volunteering at the shelter in January of this year. I had just retired from owning a doggy daycare and boarding facility for the last 15 years, where I took care of 80 to 100 dogs daily. I'm also a dog trainer. I felt in volunteering I had a lot to offer the shelter. I offered my training services to be given to all adopted dogs going to their new homes. Many people do not understand the time it takes a dog to de-stress from the kennel environment, and I was willing to give a free in-home visit along with follow-up phone calls to help new owners understand the concept of giving this time and not returning the dog to the shelter. My offer was not accepted. I come to the story of Guapo. It is his story which has led us to finally speak out about what we have experienced at the shelter. That day, I asked the director face to face why had this happened to Guapo, and her answer was that he was not good with children. It did not say anywhere in his bio about this. The lack of communication is huge. If he did not like children, why did someone set up a meet and greet with a child involved? Guapo lunged at this child, did not bite, and this action sealed his fate. I believe this was highly negligent on management's part, and Guapo was set up to fail. It is time for change. The days when shelters could destroy randomly are gone. In 2020, it was reported that 67% of homes in Flagler County had at least one dog, not to mention the homes that have 2, 3, and 4. And the one shelter you have is very inadequate and negligent in the way they handle man's best friend. I believe that dogs are not evaluated on arrival and being put up for adoption. Are they child-friendly, dog-friendly, resource guarders, fearful of men? A no to any of these questions does not mean a death sentence. It means that there needs to be full disclosure. There is a home out there for these dogs. These evaluations also need to be performed on a regular basis. Dogs change over time in this highly stressful environment. Before euthanasia, there needs to be thorough testing. It is not a decision for one person alone. One, a hands-on examination by a vet, hopefully with blood work included, to see if there are any health issues that could lead to behavioral changes. Number 2, a qualified behaviorist needs to evaluate the dog and see if they can be turned around with counter-conditioning and desensitization, or are they truly a danger to society? Thank you for your time. I know you can do better for these dogs, especially as the human population is increasing. Dogs, too, are family members. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Cameron Orr. I spent 5 days a week for about 3 years walking dogs out of the shelter and actually served on the board of directors in 2021, 2022. I resigned from the board in 2023, primarily because I found it to be an organization that was totally resistant to positive change. I was asked to come to a meeting of some of the current volunteers a week ago and was very disappointed to learn that many of the problems that existed when I left the board 15 months ago exist today. Another concern is, as already has been mentioned, that the shelter is often maxed out. Dogs are left in small kennels in the hallway, in employee restrooms, and the like. Flagler County now is experiencing explosive growth, and I think it's time to start planning and considering a second shelter in the county. I would offer up that I moved here 9 years ago from Brevard County. They actually have a municipal county in Brevard. It's under the sheriff's office. I think it's time we consider something like that. Put the county dog officers under the sheriff's organization, not under the Humane Society. There's a very good video, short, 5 minutes. I would encourage you to Google Brevard Animal Services. They describe what they do at their municipal shelter, training, intake, adoption, and the like. A good video, well worth the 5 minutes of your time. Another potential solution is to consider supporting some of the other nonprofit rescues that currently operate in the county. Again, many of those don't have facilities. They're dependent on fosters, but they take dogs, rescue dogs, operate in a non-kill manner. My personal favorite happens to be SMART, and I would urge the county to look at organizations such as that and see how that might help the animals in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for letting me speak. My name is Celia Puglisi, and I live in Palmco since 1991. I came here to speak from the side of the residents that love animals like we do in Palmco and in this county. What is happening in this shelter is not the best thing that can happen to animals. How could a shelter director boot 3 volunteers that are vital to take care of those animals? They have so many animals that probably they don't even have enough volunteers. The shelter cannot afford to boot 3 volunteers because they spoke of the cruelties and the inefficacy that is taking place as described by people that is in the shelter. The problem is that the shelter is a private organization. The county needs to get involved and the city. And we need some public shelter or an additional organization or helping those organizations that have really a heart, compassionate. They do employ people in this shelter with shady public records that you can find online. These people have been in problems with being aggressive, and they're hired. They're in this shelter, and they are dealing with these animals and the volunteers. I can provide information. Anybody can provide. It's public record. This should not be happening under any conditions. We have plenty of people like you've seen here with a good heart and compassion for animals to run this shelter and to have proper employees that are needed. The community donates to this shelter, and there is not accounting of where the monies are going. They charge heavy fees for when somebody wants to adopt an animal. Where are all the fees? Where are all the county? I know the county with our taxes help and the city help the shelter. You need to have a better accounting because this organization is a private organization. There is no proper, transparency, and this needs to stop. Please do something about our animals. It's very important. We, the community, care, and we are having a hard time dealing what is happening. And no volunteer should ever be denied to go to the shelter. One other thing that I have to say is in that airport portal that the county and the airport have put up for people, there are already 656 complaints. So the county needs to start reading those complaints in that airport portal, because affects all the people, especially in Well Hollow and in Seminole Woods. So have a heart, get there and see what is going on, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Good morning. My name is Mario Almeida. I am a resident of Bulow Plantation for over 13 years. We have 3 abandoned homes that have been abandoned for over 3 years. And we have monthly meetings, and we try to get the management, and we were told that these homes would have been removed in the second quarter of this year. Well, that has come and gone, and because what's happening there, it seems that ELS doesn't want to do anything until they're forced. Hopefully there's somebody in this room that can listen to us and get some of our problems resolved. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Greg Wynn. I've been a resident of Bulow since 2008. I was a financial planner for many years, know a lot about corporations. The corporate owner of this property is what you'd call a bad corporate citizen. They don't do anything unless forced. The water problem is ridiculous. I tried to have coffee this morning to get 12 ounces of water to put in the coffee machine. Took me 30 seconds. The water flow is like a drip. The canals behind my house are full of trees, debris. I've gone, asked when the general maintenance is going to take place. They just stonewall you. I came up here to ask the county, do you have any control over this? I was told that the property was bought so long ago, the owner has total control over everything, and Flagler doesn't even look into it. That's what I was told by an employee. This a bad situation. It needs to be looked into.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Scott Hunter. I moved to Palm Coast in 2002 and have been a resident of Flagler County ever since. For more than 15 of those years, I've been a donor to our local Humane Society. I've been a dog owner for pretty much my entire adult life, and all my memories of childhood and growing up include 1 or more dogs in the family. In February, I became a volunteer dog walker and attended an orientation at the Humane Society. Didn't take long to see that they can do much, much better. I will only discuss one issue today, and that is a lack of policies and procedures. 1 week ago, the volunteers were invited to a meeting to discuss any issues or questions that we had. The meeting was set at 2 p.m. on a Monday afternoon, I believe on purpose, as attendance was very poor. There weren't more than 15 people there. One of the things we discussed was a very, very basic procedure, leashing a dog for a walk. At the end of this discussion, there were shoulder shrugs and pass-offs with no set procedure communicated. Do it however you want is basically what came out of it. If there is one thing of paramount importance for the safety of the dogs and humans alike, it is consistency, that everybody is doing the same thing the same way. This way, the dog knows what it all means, what it's all about, and there are no missteps. The dog won't react. Another example, a volunteer was nipped, just a little pinch, by a dog while reaching for a treat that was put on the floor. It was for the most part harmless, and the volunteer reported it to an employee, as again, there was no clear policy what was supposed to be done. The employee never communicated this incident to anyone, knowing that sometimes it only takes one misstep on the part of the dog and they are killed. So by not communicating this incident, nobody else knew about the issue, and it is an easily correctable issue. Another walker did the same exact thing and was bitten. The dog was killed by the next morning. At the meeting, this was brought up, and turns out no real policy, even for being bitten and how to communicate it, is in place. This dog, Kyla, was surrendered with a related dog, and they were quickly separated from each other. The other dog was soon adopted, leaving Kyla all alone at the shelter. I had the pleasure of walking and hanging with her many times. I would sit Indian style in her kennel, petting her, talking to her, giving her treats right from my hand. Quickly got to the point where the dog would lay right in my lap on her back to get her belly scratched, and I would get slobbered all over. This was by no means an aggressive dog, and yet what she did was called resource guarding. It's not uncommon, especially in a kennel environment. It is not an incident that deserved death. And as you said, Mr. Dance, earlier, if better is possible, then status quo or good is definitely not good enough. And they can and must do better. Thank you.
Good morning, Board.
Morning.
My name is Sharon Demers, and I'm the Republican State Committee woman for Flagler County. I'm here today to speak out against any ordinance that will infringe on our freedom of speech,
Demers,
specifically
that's an agenda item. We'll have public comment for that item
Oh.
when that's brought up.
Oh,
It's-
okay. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Good morning. My name is Paul Loesch. I am also a resident of Bulow Plantation Manufactured Home Community. This water issue is a major, major problem. You do stuff during the day, you go into your house, be outside sweating in 95-degree weather, and you can't take a shower. We're all senior citizens. There are a lot of veterans in that neighborhood. We've sat and talked to management, the board of directors over this issue. It's an outdated, the water system is outdated. I spoke to a couple of the workers from Florida Water, U.S. Water. They say there's a new material that they should replace that PVC with. All the years that the trees have been growing now, pushing the pipe up in the air, cracking them. And again, in 1 month, I think we had 3 breakdowns. Also, there is a lot of dumping going on the east side of Kings Road behind the water pump facility. This has been going on for 3 years. There's landscape debris. There's acres of landscape debris, 10 feet high, cut up trees, construction debris. This is a fire issue. I've gone to the fire department. It's really not in their hands. I'm getting to the point where I'm going to try to call Department of Forestry. If there's a fire in that area, it could burn for months. I mean, really, and not only that, they talk about the heat and the combustion underneath all of that weight of stuff that's decaying as far as being ignited just from gases. It's bad. It's very, very bad. The other thing that they talk about, the community has a cancer. And again, we've confronted management on this. They make nothing but excuses. That's all you walk out of the meeting with. I have a background in commercial maintenance. It doesn't take much for me to start walking around and notice things. I could tell them what to do, what they need to do, and the money cost is really not phenomenal. They have walkovers, railings for walkovers that go over bodies of water to different parts of the community. The railings are falling off. This has got to be an OSHA issue or code violation. There's exposed outlets on this island that has this gazebo on it. All the covers are busted off. The outlets are just hanging there. The dock down by the boat ramp, all of the boards are cupping. It's all rotted wood. It's a trip hazard. They're not addressing any of these issues in this senior citizen community. And if there's any possibility of any senior citizen services that you could provide us to help us try to get some of this corrected, we'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Kathy Saris, and I'm here to bring awareness and ask for change, which is desperately needed at Flagler Humane Society. I saw some, I don't know if it was confusion or concern on your faces as other residents and volunteers were here. So I just want to get up and speak a little bit too. So they terminated 3 of us volunteers that are passionate for the animals, especially the dogs. And it was because they euthanized Guapo, a 2-year-old beautiful dog that was a volunteer favorite, okay? And that was the one that they said didn't like children and had a meet and greet with the child, and nobody seems to know what one person is doing there. So I did meet with the director and one of her animal control officers about this because I went to the city meeting. And the reason I was terminated and the others, because we commented on Guapo's euthanasia, which was an unnecessary killing, along with the other 79 dogs that they honestly reported last year and the almost 60 cats. And what they need to do instead of euthanizing these animals is give them half a chance. These animals, most of them come from a loving home. Sometimes their owners die. Sometimes families just can't afford it anymore. So then they're dumped in a shelter and they have a total different personality. They don't know what they did wrong to deserve this. And they're just so confused and they get stressed. Sometimes there was one Dagger that he's still there because I try to protect them on next door by putting out their names and pictures and pleading to residents to please go out. If you have one, maybe you can get another one. Save these animals because Dagger had a seizure. Most of the seizures come from stress because they're put into this environment where they know nothing about what they did. Even if they were a not so sweet dog, there is rescues that they can reach out to. There is rehab that they can reach out to. There are fosters they can reach out to. I fostered, and it's wonderful. It's so rewarding. It's hard to give them up, but you know that you provided a loving home. I even fostered, and I told them I would do hospice, and they said they can't afford it. I said, I'll buy the food. No, they won't pay for medical. Why do people donate there? To save the dogs, not to put them down. Instead of euthanizing, why don't they provide a decent medical care? They said they spoke to the veterinarian, and he agreed. What did he do? Talk to him on the phone? Did they do a blood test? There was nothing wrong with this gorgeous dog, just like the other almost 80 dogs last year, and who knows what is this year. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Jody Bollinger. I live at 5648 North Ocean Shore Boulevard. Jan and I are from Hammock Community Association, and we're here to bring attention to code violations that have been identified in the Hammock but have not been resolved. The following are some of those code violations. A parking lot is a prohibited use in the RC zoning district, yet Bronx continues to use the parcel to its north as a parking lot in order for the property to be used as a parking lot. Bronx would need to purchase the property, apply for a unity of title, and submit a site plan along with a special exemption request. Besides its use as a parking lot being a code violation, it also is violating county code because there's no 25-foot landscape buffer along A1A, and they're not controlling entrance and exit onto A1A from that supposed parking lot. At the May 13th meeting that we had with county officials, Mr. Mingle said that the property to the south of Bartlett's, which used to be owned by Star Car Wash, was going to become a parking lot for Bartlett's. The property has since been purchased by the owner of Bronx. Since it is not adjacent to Bronx, Bronx cannot apply for a unity of title. Therefore, if they plan to use it as a parking lot in the future, it would be a prohibited use. When the aforementioned property was being cleared, a stop work order was posted. It was ignored and work continued. A second stop work order was posted and a neighbor observed the owner removing it. Work continued. Because the property was cleared with no stormwater management in place, water now flows from A1A westward to the residential property on Sanchez. Bronx has made a beer garden. There are still there are still 2 food trucks there. Food trucks are not permitted. There are 2 portalets on site. We are wondering if the county has codes concerning the use of portalets in the RC district. A major issue is that restaurants have received site plan approval for parking based on the square footage of the restaurant. Then seating is added outdoors and there is no place to park the overflow of cars. For instance, Bronx has 19 paved parking spaces based on 750 square feet. It has since added 48 seats on its porch, plus 8 tables with chairs and 6 picnic tables in the beer garden. Code says that only 25% of restaurant seating can be outdoors in the RC district. And then we have Bartlett's, which is next door. It advertises and operates as a restaurant, but it has no restaurant license. It operates as a mobile commercial kitchen, a glorified food truck. Is that a permitted use in RC? Thank you very much for listening to me, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Good morning. My name is Janet Sullivan. I live at 35 Nantucket Drive in the Hammock. Other violations that Jody wasn't able to get to. Bronx Pizza never applied for even one special event permit, but hosted several, which violated noise ordinances and parking codes. As far as parking in general, the sheriff said parallel parking on 17th Road and Sanchez was permitted even in the roadway, but pull-in parking is not. To prove his point, at 9 a.m. on a weekday, a commander came into the neighborhood and cited 2 neighbors who were pulled in to their own yards. Yet last Friday evening, dozens of cars used pull-in parking on 17th and Sanchez for Bronx Pizza. Neighbors are starting to feel retaliated against. The Hammock Baptist church representatives signed on a building permit to replace a mobile home that there were no index trees that would be removed in the clearing area. Yet 2 oaks and at least 1 magnolia were taken down. When we pointed this out, code enforcement passed it off to the building department, which sent it back to code enforcement, and the circle went on. Our code complaints against Bronx Pizza began in the fall of 2022. For the next year and a half, some blend of phone calls, emails, and meetings occurred with multiple county representatives. Nothing changed. We had a sit-down meeting on May 13th, 2024 with county administration and growth management. We were promised regular communications regarding code violations, citations, and so forth. After we sent 3 emails to growth management, we finally received 1 communication on June 20th, 2024. We have received nothing since. Neighbors have been cursed at and threatened with damage to their private property. Nightly, they are surrounded by dozens of cars just a few yards from their front door and side door. Their roads are blocked. The noise from amplified bands is invasive and an assault on their senses. Nothing seems to change, even when we're told, "I'll handle it." We received no communications, even when promised. A real kick was the appointment of one of the biggest perpetrators of the code violations to the county planning board. This is not about the businesses. We are not fighting against anyone or anything. We just want the codes followed. We want citations issued, and we want communicated to as to whether any of this occurs. When the sewer line comes in, more businesses will open, more quiet neighborhoods will be impacted. So the question is, how can we work together to enable a solution? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other public comments? All right, seeing no other public comments, I'll bring it back to the board for some follow-up comments.
I wanted to talk for a minute about the Humane Society,
Okay.
if I could. So I don't know if
Don't
they
leave
wanna-
yet.
Don't leave yet. Or leave. It's up to you. So I had a meeting with Ms. Petito because I had something pretty seriously brought to my attention by a member of law enforcement, and I don't want to call him out right now. But, and it pertains to us because we pay for animal control. So this particular issue is an animal control issue because some of the issues brought up are really with the board and the nonprofit operating the Humane Society. But I've had, since I got in this role, numerous emails and calls about animal control not wanting to pick up animals out in my district, with animals chasing children at bus stops and the animal control person saying, I'm not available, not enough coverage, or coming out and not wanting to deal with the animal because the animal looked violent, just not even wanting to touch the animal, and leaving it to the residents to do. Law enforcement has an issue, and I'm not going to speak out about it right now because it's an open case, of animal control picking up an animal who was gravely injured in a case, and rather than the animal receiving care, it was taken back to the Humane Society to sit in a horrific condition throughout the weekend until it received care. So my concerns are, and I don't think we're the only municipality having issues. I don't think we're the only government officials having issues with animal control. And I know that one of the animal control agents that we swore in has left because of issues. As someone who pays for animal control, we're not getting the services we are expecting the residents to receive. And on top of it, as they talked about, the animals are not necessarily getting the care we would expect them to receive. And I even had a complaint just come in about someone who was hospitalized, so their animal had no choice but to go to the Humane Society, and the animal was euthanized while they were in the hospital. So I think it's a problem on the animal control perspective for us. And then I think we have to talk about, at some point, what's the solution to the problem. And of course, as they spoke, they're running out of lack of space because the county's growing and there is no space at the Humane Society. So I'm worried about the animal control piece of it, people not getting the services that we pay for, and the treatment of the animals when they go into the care. I think it's a bigger problem, and this is just a piece of it.
So let's keep it to the Humane Society. Let's address this right now.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Here's my thoughts. We struggle because we're moving from a rural county to a more urban county, and I think this issue that these folks brought up is indicative of those struggles that we have. I don't know what the capacity is of the shelter, for canines and felines, but while some of the folks were talking, I quickly went to the Humane Society website, and they have information back from 2020 to today, and I mean it's very clear. Their statistic tracking is not the greatest. I could tell you that it's very inconsistent. But what I could see is there's been a large increase in the number of intakes, and I'm sure it's probably well past capacity. It almost seems like we have an approach from a management and facility standpoint, policies and procedures, that is more indicative of a county that has 50,000 population than 125 that we have today. And the symptoms are coming out in a lot of the things that we heard this morning. If one of those statistics are right, if 60% of the households in Flagler County have animals, that comes out to about 33,000 animals just in the county. And, if you say there's 1% of knuckleheads that don't know how to take care of animals, that's still a large number of possibilities of demand on the shelter. So I don't know. I just think we need to rethink our approach to that. And, from a financial and an oversight standpoint, we do give money to the shelter. I don't even know what we give. I should know that. But the fact is what is our responsibilities from an oversight standpoint? And one of the folks made the point about financial audits. Yeah, there's no financial audit. What's on there are federal tax returns, which doesn't tell you anything. So, and this organization has well over $1 million in revenue or money flowing into it. So I don't know what the requirements are for a nonprofit and what our oversight should be, but I don't think it's enough with the growth that we've had in the county over the last 5 years. And so I concur with a lot of things that Commissioner Pennington had to say.
Commissioner Sullivan.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, unfortunately, I'm on the canvassing board, and we have a publicly announced meeting that starts at 11 o'clock. We'll be counting additional mail-in ballots. I have no choice, but I'm going to have to leave the meeting. It's very unfortunate in this case in that there are a couple of general business items that I'd like to be involved with the discussion. I'll just have to say that as far as item 8A goes, I wish we could just move that maybe to the next meeting or the first meeting in September due to the fact that we're in the middle of an election right now. We've already had over 5,000 mail-in ballots counted, and I think that any changes that even in any way affect voting, although I do like the second iteration of the bill, I can't be here, and so I don't think it's critical that that get done today. So I've got to leave, though.
Thank you. Thank you for your thoughts on that. Thank you. Anything else on Humane Society?
I agree with both the comments from my fellow commissioners. And, maybe this is an issue that we as a county take over running that place. And that might be the answer, because then we'd have control. And I mean, these are alarming statistics. I've inspected it once, and they knew I was coming. So I don't know if that was a real good inspection, but everything looked great. I mean, there were no big barking dogs, and everything looked nice. And but like I said, they knew I was coming. So maybe it's time to make a big change here.
Right. I'll just say that from the oversight standpoint, I agree with the comments that based on our contributions, it seems to be some of the oversight for us to make sure that our taxpayer funds are being spent wisely and appropriately are maybe a little lacking. So, Administrator, do you have any suggestions moving forward?
We could certainly reach out to them and schedule a meeting. They are a nonprofit with their own board, so we don't technically have oversight, even though they share the name Flagler County. People assume we have something to do with it. In looking at our open checkbook, we provide $284,000 a year.
$284,000. So I would just make one suggestion, just from the animal control perspective, is maybe perhaps have staff meet with the municipalities to see if they're having issues. I know that the city of Palm Coast operates their own animal control, but they take their animals to the Humane Society, and maybe just have some sort of solutioning around the animal control piece, at least for us to look at, because my struggle right off the cuff is none of the, I mean, they hardly pick up any animals out there. And that's the number one complaint I get is they get calls and they don't come. And then the treatment of the animals once they're brought in and is another thing. But to look at the animal control piece and what are the other options for where to take animals when they're picked up. I don't know if there's a lot of options right now in this county for that, but maybe just have the staff give us another version of what could occur and how the other municipalities are handling it.
Right. And there's always, I do think in your investigation, we need to have, and whether it's a workshop, right, we need to hear from the other side as well. So there's balance in the discussion, but I would be okay with a workshop, but also be okay with some additional feedback from staff and on how we can influence improvements.
Certainly, we can work on that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you being here. Let's talk briefly about Bulow as well. I know there's a meeting, if I'm not mistaken, coming up in September. The water issues are new from prior discussions. We've been heavily involved in the RV section, so we might need to expand the agenda for the next meeting.
I would recommend that we probably have somebody from DEP, Flagler County, as a board. We have no authority over their water system. They're regulated through Florida Department of Environmental Protection for their water and for their sewer system. It's possible, I did hear them mention John Bay with the Health Department. He can probably help provide some guidance and discussion. We do have a tentative workshop scheduled for September 4th. It'll be immediately following our first public hearing, which is at 5:01. So as soon as we're done with that first public hearing, we are scheduled to have a workshop to talk about Bulow, with the intent that we would then have a 3-month follow-up in October.
Right. And again, that was mainly for the RV issues,
Correct.
but it sounds like it might not be a bad time to expand that agenda. We have time to research with the health department and also with the other regulatory agencies.
Certainly, we can do that.
Okay. Thank you for being here. If you've got any material you wanted to leave this side over here. Okay, thank you. And then in the hammock, did you want to move your, I know you were going to talk about the hammock at your closing comments, but you can discuss it now.
Well, I did have a conversation this morning with staff. They did provide an update as the public had said back in June. I know that the public had hoped to get weekly or maybe it was every 2-week updates. That might be somewhat problematic for staff because we only have 2 code enforcement officials. I know that they are behind in providing the July update. But I know that we did meet with Mike Goodman regarding Bronx House, and he had informed us that him and his partners had discontinued doing the beer garden and the outdoor entertainment, that they were aware of the seating capacity for the outdoor seating. He has submitted a special exception through the building department for the use of that parking lot. It's my understanding in talking to him, it would be used for valet parking. It would probably benefit his business as well as Bartlett's. I don't know how that would work. They would probably have to pay or buy since they're not the owners of the property. But that's not something that we would necessarily get involved with. They were really moving forward with their outside counsel and submitting a plan for that special exception for the use of that new property.
So there's, at least from what I was taking notes on, multiple different infractions on the land development code. So are they addressing those through the application process for the parking? So that would be, those are open processes for the public to follow as well.
They were made aware, I don't know what exactly, and we can call Adam Mingle up here. I didn't see the submittal for what they had submitted as far as the special exception, other than use of the parking area. They were talking about putting up some fencing to protect Sanchez from headlights for vehicles that would be parked there. As far as the particulars, I didn't see the application, but when we did meet with them, we did talk about the confirming no more than 40 outdoor seats based on the 160 maximum seats that had been provided. We talked about the outdoor seating, the special events. They are aware that it does require a permit through the county and that we needed 90 days in advance of the event. They are aware that food trucks are not permitted. I don't know if the portalettes were brought up today, but that's something that falls under the health department, not us. We talked about the scheduling of Waste Pro garbage trucks, being that right now maybe it's too early. Code enforcement was being proactive in contacting Waste Pro to see if they could reschedule it to a timing later in the day as to not affect the residential. The signs that were put along A1A came from FDOT for the no parking along A1A. And again, the expansion of that new parking lot required special exception and site plan submittal, which I understand that they submitted. They also mentioned Bartlett's. Bartlett's operates as a mobile commercial kitchen, which is licensed through the state. not through us. They are not they're not licensed as a restaurant in Flagler. It's a mobile commercial kitchen. They fall under the same guidelines of no parking permitted on A1A because FDOT had put signs up. They had mentioned, I don't know if today, but in the course of discussions, they mentioned roadies about parking in the A1A right-of-way. That was not authorized as part of a special exception approval by us. They mentioned shape of water, about no sewer being available. We've met with the city of Palm Coast, who is working with us to do that backbone sewer force main, and working with the owner of Shape of Water to provide for a connection there. Hopefully that'll take care of that issue. But we are still working with Shape of Water because he does require a building permit for the change of occupancy. Once he can get utility service, it would be residential to then commercial for his restaurant. I think we already worked through the whole notice of violation for the land clearing for the former car wash parcel. I don't know if I missed anything from what else they've said, but we are actively working it with code enforcement. If there's something in addition to what I've shared, we can certainly hear from Mr. Mingle.
Did you have anything you wanted to add, Greg, or?
No, it's a tough problem, and, you know, we get attacked for one thing, and then we try to solve that we meet with the restaurant owner, and he tries to solve it, and then we get attacked for doing that. So, you know, I wish people would just sit down and let us do our jobs and take care of this. We know that, I mean, we've made great strides with Bronx. There's no more outdoor entertainment, no more outdoor seating. The beer garden's gone. I mean, it's not going to be there anymore. He's going to get rid of the chairs, as a matter of fact. He's going to sell them. So, and the food trucks are going to get removed. I don't know about the porta potties. I don't know about that. But they're making a good faith effort to do that. And if we're remiss in communicating that, I apologize. But it's a tough problem over there with all those restaurants. And it's a shame that we get so much criticism because these are people that are businessmen and they're succeeding. They're having great success. So, you know, I think, you know, let us do our jobs and we'll take care of it.
So on the, just from a communication standpoint, the HCA has monthly meetings. Is there any way we can?
I'm there every month and I report on stuff. Yep.
So if they have things that they don't think, should they reach out to you?
Yeah, that's what they're supposed to do.
Okay.
Yeah. And I take it all, bring it up, talk to Heidi about them every time. So.
And if you need support, you're able to bring staff?
Yep. I've brought Adam to their meetings, and yeah. Again, we do a good job, and I know if we're remiss in not reporting in July, that's on us. So, but there wasn't much to report. We just met with Mike last week. I think it was last week, and you know, he has made great strides to try to keep the community satisfied. So no matter what he does, though, we get attacked. So
from the larger scale land development issue, is it something that we need to address before we hit the land development code rewrite, or is there anything on the horizon that's going to be that you think that we have to?
Yeah, we got to solve the parking issue. The current calculations for parking is not adequate. So, and that's what we get into these situations. So if somebody opens a business on the Great American Highway, and now if we get this rewrite done correctly, when they build their restaurant or build whatever, and it's coming because the sewer's coming, so they're going to get other stuff there. They're going to have to. We have to make sure that whatever they build, we have adequate parking, and the fact that the septic requirement will go away will give us. The people that are trying to build will give more room for parking because they won't have to have a septic field and so it's not a good story. It's not. We don't want to see the hammock overdeveloped, but it's coming. So we just got to make sure in the rewrite that we take care of this parking issue,
right,
and make sure that we adequately provide for parking for whatever the business is.
I guess the question is, do we want to do that? Is there a consensus to look at that now, or are you, Ms.
Yeah,
Commissioner Pennington
we should.
No,
shaking her head?
I've been thinking with the rewrite that we need, some of these places need their own bucketed workshop because they have different issues that are not necessarily going to be addressed properly.
So an individual,
Particularly the hammock. I mean,
right.
yeah, I think that they need that
Is there
just for
consensus
the
to have
land development.
a unique workshop with the hammock, kind of like we did with Grand Haven on the issue where we went with the feral pigs, and we can have input from the residents on these code enforcement?
I don't think that's necessary because the buildings that are there now, we cannot go back and say, you're in violation. So, because they're roadies, for instance, they're not breaking any rules. The sheriff said they're parking legally. They're parking on the right of way, and that's state law. That's okay. But they should have provided more parking at the outset. But they did what we required. They provided the number of parking spaces that our building code required. And they became a raging success. So now people are parking along A1A, which the sheriff says is legal. He can't do anything about that. Bronx House Pizza, again, they provided the number of spaces we required when they built the thing. Their certificate of occupancy was issued on that basis. So, and they're trying their best to find more parking, and then we get attacked now for that. So, I mean, you can't criticize a company for being successful and trying their best to try to solve all the problems.
Do you want staff to do we direct staff to look at the code and come up with suggestions on the code?
Yeah, I'd like to see, we should get a rewrite on the parking thing ASAP and weigh in on that at a meeting sometime. But I don't think we need a workshop. That's what our staff's for. But they should be able to come up with a better requirement for follow-on buildings. And we could address that at any time, so that part of the building code will be done, and we will in fact have approved that part. So if between now and when the building code is approved, we have already weighed in and said, this is what we will require as far as parking.
Commissioner Bennigan?
No, well, I mean, I'm okay with that, but I wanted to piggyback on the other thing I think I'm worried about with the businesses coming in is the live, and I don't know where we handle that because we think our noise ordinance handles it, but the live music abutting the residential.
Well, he involuntarily stopped.
Yeah, but he's not going to be the only one because
No, I know somebody else
you
will do
have,
it.
the marina may be, or the dry storage may have that same scenario. The new captains may have the same scenario.
Yeah, we ought to write it in.
It doesn't seem like the noise ordinance the sheriff's office is enforcing or can enforce the way it was currently done. I don't know what the right solution is to that, but I think that's what the two huge problems down inside the hammock. Well, besides the trees being completely violated at times, but that seemed to be the biggest complaints, parking and noise.
Did you want to weigh in at all, Commissioner O'Brien?
Only insofar as I think the way Commissioner Hanson laid it out seems to be a logical process. That it's going forward. It's the COs that we've issued and the current businesses are basically in compliance with the amount of spots and parking that they have. So we need to think about from the planning side. I think that's the appropriate approach.
Do we want to have staff looking at parking now to see what solutions will be offered?
I'd like to see it done now and then bring it to us.
Okay, so I'm okay with that. Commissioner O'Brien? Okay, so I think the direction is for staff to proactively look at potential modifications to the LDC on parking, or if we can look at it for the LDC rewrite, but at least start working on solutions that would help us in the hammock moving forward, especially in light of sewer coming, additional spaces for parking. I know we've recently looked at the alternative paving materials, which it actually works in favor of drainage and saving trees. Is the appropriate response a workshop or having Commissioner Hanson do his? Okay. So it looks like the consensus will be to make sure that on a monthly basis, what's communicated to us from the HCA, our staff will address through you.
Yep.
Okay.
The way it's supposed to work.
Okay. So as long as everything that, and you can shake your head, everything that you wrote down has been sent to us from the hammock, from HCA. Ms. Sullivan, all your public comments. Okay. So if you could get those in our hands, and so we can address them, all of them. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Everybody good?
So that addresses the communication with HCA. How did you want to handle the parking requirements, LDC rewrite? Just have staff work on that and provide that to you for
an update to us at a workshop or a next meeting at the under your comments.
Certainly. I did want to just mention one thing. It didn't come in through the comments today, but we were made aware yesterday that there was a property owner development at 5359 North Ocean Shore. They had accessed their property through the Hammock Dunes Parkway, where they kind of cut through a path with four-wheelers and kind of removed some trees. We did issue a stop work order. It's my understanding that they were going in there to do some soil boring testing. We did issue the stop work order. We were made aware of it, though it did come through, I think, Dennis Clark or through the HCA. So we are working that issue. We are working on a vegetation plan with the property owner. So
Okay.
just to make you aware of that one.
All right, very good. All right, so we've gone through community outreach, addressed issues. Any board comments on consent items that anybody wanted to bring forward?
I just wanted to say on item 7G, I wanted to thank engineering for finding a solution for 302 and 305, the intersection. We're hoping that really saves lives out there.
Commissioner Hanson?
I was just glad to see us supporting the Alzheimer's issue. That's a big issue in the county, and we're involved, and that's good.
Commissioner O'Brien? And I'll just say on 7F, it's nice to see us taking care of the solid waste and no increases this year for residents. Good to see the settlement over with Ormond Beach on consent, so thank you to Mr. Moylan for his hard work on that, and for the ability to help out Pace as well. All right, so we'll move on to, is any items to be pulled for consent to further discussion?
I have none.
None.
And I don't have any as well, so.
Therefore, Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the consent agenda item.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Hanson, seconded by Commissioner O'Brien for approval of consent. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. All right, item 8A, resolution prohibiting the placement of certain objects on county property. This is the second time we've brought this forward. It was tabled from last meeting, so Ms. Petito, did you want to start off? Mr. Moylan?
No, I just wanted to acknowledge that we have Sheila here with us this morning with Pace, and I didn't know if she wanted to get up and say a few words if you were inclined or not.
Absolutely. Before we hit that one, we'll give you some time. Thank you. Just introduce yourselves and for the record.
Good morning, Chairman and Council. I am Sheila Jordan, the Executive Director of Pace Center for Girls for Lucia Flagler. We are incredibly grateful for the support of the council as we move into what will be our 30th year serving girls from Flagler and Volusia. We've been in a 100-year-old building, so your support will allow us to serve many thousands more as we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
And good morning. I'm Barb Gertman, former Volusia County Council representative. So I know this hard work that you're doing here, and I thank you for that. I also stand here instead for Miriam Gayabi, who's a little under the weather today, but she wanted to say thank you. You know, this is one of her passion projects, and I'm just really grateful for the regional investment in PACE for girls and the hard work that they do and the success that they have. So we thank you for this opportunity.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for being here, for driving up, and happy to have you say a few words. So thank you. All right. Item 8A again. Mr. Moylan and Ms. Albanese.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. Sean Moylan, Deputy County Attorney. This was continued from a prior meeting where you guys had a robust discussion and asked that we remove any references to disruptive behavior. And despite what is displayed on the screen, the current resolutions before you only refer to physical objects and amplified sound, the use of amplified sound. Commissioner O'Brien mentioned earlier that we are transitioning from a small county to a medium-sized or a more urbanized county, and issues are growing and evolving. So we're trying to get a handle on this issue. We've heard from Commissioner Sullivan, who asked that we wait, and we will obviously do whatever the pleasure of the board is. But I did want Ms. Albanese to speak a little bit about the situation on the ground at our early voting site, the library in Palm Coast.
Good morning again. Holly Albanese, Assistant County Administrator, Library Director. I'm here just to speak about the situation at the library. I've been with the county 19 years, and I have seen it all, obviously, at the library. And the library is one, I guess it is the largest early voting site in the county. We have actually the most people turn out. And over the years, I've seen huge change. It used to be just signs and then people lining the sidewalks, and over the years it's gotten just more congested, more people, and obviously the county's growing, so you're going to get more people out there. And the library, because we have two sides to the building, the parking's kind of L-shaped. They're on both sides, and when they come now, it's like a circus. You know, there's tents, tables, chairs. They have their coolers. They're out there from early in the morning, and I know that there have been in the past some people setting up overnight, having their tents set up. I've been called at 4 in the morning to come out for issues with tents. We've had to go out because of arguments and potential fights on property. We've had to bring the police in. We've had car accidents because they park. There's not enough parking spaces during this time, so they park all over, including on the grass and the swales along the roadway, and it's just really gotten out of control over the years. I personally have gone out there and I try to engage with all the candidates and the people that are working for them, and just try to keep some semblance of order out there. But they bring everything from standees to this king, I call it a king chair, but it's a very large looking chair that maybe you'd see a king sitting in with like purple velour and gold. And they've done that in the past. It's my understanding it's probably going to be out there again this year. So we can only control, or I should say the supervisor of elections only controls what goes on within the 150-foot mark. Outside of the 150-foot mark, it's up to the library staff. And over the years, it's gotten more and more difficult for the library staff, and that's why I personally don't want to put that on them. So usually it's me out there just talking to the candidates and their poll workers, and just letting them know what our general rules are for the library. And until now, we have had no way of maybe controlling that. Now, the library is a limited public forum, which means we can limit to time, place, and manner only. So while I'm not trying to interfere with the election, certainly we're a library and I'm a librarian. I would never want to interfere with voters' rights or the First Amendment, but we've got to control some of what's going on over there. And if you don't enact any of these items today, that's fine. I've already decided that what we're going to do at the library is, at the very least, we're going to control the timing of people being able to put up the tents. So they won't be allowed to put up a tent until an hour before polls open, and they must have them down within an hour after polls close. I think at the very least, that's something. So if you have any questions about, what's going on at the library and what we do, happy
Thank
to
you.
answer. Yep.
And just a quick follow-up before we hear from you. I did want to remind you that the board has several years ago already adopted a resolution that prohibits overnight parking on county properties and also the use of oversized vehicles on county property, so that, for example, you could not pull up a large trailer with a giant sign on it soliciting, even if you had no intention of actually using the facility. So whatever you do today, that rule's already in place and not changing. And it goes without saying, but I want to say for the record that any rule we're imposing obviously is without any regard to the viewpoint of the person who's speaking. These apply universally across the board. And a point of clarification for you and the public, you would not have picked up on this from the published agenda. There is a statute, and for the record, it's 102.031, subpart 4E. And what it says is that the owner of a facility that is a polling site cannot prevent the solicitation of voters outside of that 150-foot no solicitation zone. So within the 150 feet, that is the territory that is under the control of the supervisor of elections while the polls are open. Outside of the 150 feet, we cannot prohibit the solicitation of voters. And the Division of Elections has issued an opinion that says the use of signage is a way of soliciting voters. So we cannot outright prohibit signage outside of that 150-foot zone, but we can put reasonable time, place, manner restrictions on it. And so the rule that we currently have in place that says you can't put your signs on our buildings or on our trees, that would remain in place regardless of what we do today. But we can't stop them, for instance, from putting a sign in the ground while the polls are open outside of that 150-foot zone.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. That was a question, so you answered that. All right, questions for Mr. Moylan?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
So we can't prevent solicitation outside 150 feet. We the director said she's going to enforce timing on tent erection and takedown. And we already have ordinance in place about large vehicles. So what else does this ordinance do, and why do we even need it?
It doesn't apply only to polling sites. So for example, right now, we don't have anything in place. If someone were to stand in front of the GSB with a bullhorn and tell everyone entering the building that the moon is made of cheese, we can't stop them. There's nothing that stops amplified sound. If someone wanted to set up a camp to protest the war in Ukraine, for example, on our front lawn, is that what we want? Right now, there's no rules in place. We don't have designated sites for these First Amendment activities on the books. So although we're focused on polling sites because that is the issue du jour, there is a broader application of this resolution.
Any other comments?
How does the, when you and I talked, there's this state law that's going to go into effect in October.
Oh, yes.
So can you talk to that?
Sure. The new state law prohibits sleeping, overnight camping on public property. And it it requires the county to not allow it. So we have to like affirmatively stop it from happening. And the statute actually says that the evidence of overnight camping would be tents, personal sundries, and sleeping bags and that sort of thing. So I don't think they're exactly the same thing that we're talking about here. Although if someone, I don't think this has ever happened, but if someone wanted to try to camp out in the library overnight in order to stake out a certain territory, that would be prohibited come October 1.
But Ms. Albanese can regulate that, as she indicated.
Yes.
Putting time limits on it.
Correct. Yes, as a
Property
the
owner.
steward of the library property and just imposing rules, yes.
Yeah, I think my concern over this whole thing is how do you enforce it? And Ms. Albanese certainly can enforce it, but it's different if you have a sheriff's deputy out there enforcing. But it's not a law yet, so
Correct.
he can't. We don't expect a sheriff's deputy to come out unless there's a disturbance.
Unless there's a crime.
Right.
With the resolution in place, what would happen is we would ask the person to follow the rules, and if they refused, they would be trespassed from the property. And that's when the sheriff's deputy would come into play, is if we were asking a person to be trespassed.
So the current resolution could be amended by this board, correct? If we were to say, you know, I'm fine with tents, or I'm fine with coolers. I forget what the other, it could be amended, right? If we decided, look, amplified sound is not okay. Or
Correct.
if we said tents are not okay, because I think her and I were talking last year, a tent caught wind and landed on someone's car up there, which causes distraction. So things like that, or to avoid people setting up business on the front of the GSB. We could just amend to keep it simple. Would that tent option that we're talking about solve all of that HB 1365, which says no tents after? No, right? You're going to still have to come back on 1365.
So to first answer the first part of your question, yes, we can craft a resolution. Anything that you move and adopt, we'll adapt the resolution to conform to your motion and your vote. The no camping law that comes in effect October 1 doesn't explicitly prohibit tents. It prohibits sleeping on public property, which is evidenced by the having tents there. So they're sort of two different things.
You want me to go ahead and open up for public comment and then?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
if you'd like.
At this time, we'll open up for public comment. Anybody who wishes to speak on this item? Sorry for the delay.
Good morning. My name is Sharon Demers. I'm the Republican State Committee woman. I'm here today to speak out against any ordinance that will infringe on our freedom of speech and specifically our freedom of political speech. The ordinance proposed will not only infringe on our free speech, but will also possibly lead to injury and hospitalizations of our elderly volunteers. That said, most of our volunteers are between the ages of 60 and 80. And as you know, living in Florida, the heat is oppressive. Forcing our elderly volunteers to stand outside in the heat, unprotected by a pop-up tent, and not allowed to have a cooler of water next to them or have a chair is absolutely ridiculous. It will be on your heads and your shoulders if someone is taken to the hospital for heat exhaustion. We had a case today that someone thought they suffered heat exhaustion, and it was actually a more serious event. Specifically, this rule is against Florida State Statute 102.031, Sections D and E, which the attorney mentioned. This ordinance was already challenged in New Smyrna Beach, where a candidate had a big pickup truck with like an 8-foot sign in the back, and the library was forcing them to leave. So this was already challenged in court, and the the allowance of the truck with the large sign was allowed. Anything outside the 150-foot rule is allowed. It is called freedom of speech. It allows us to contact the voters, hand them literature, and I understand Ms. Pepito's issues because I've seen them all too, because I've been out there for 13 years. And, we will do our best in the party to keep people under control and to make sure that they understand the rules. But I believe that you will have legal action taken against you by candidates, political parties, and political action committees in the up-and-coming election, should you put an ordinance and infringe on our right to have freedom of speech in a political arena. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And on one other subject, the beach, I was there. They stopped the seawall, working on that on Friday, and they stopped the renourishment on Sunday morning.
Thank you.
As a resident of Flagler County taxpayer since 1991, I would like our board to make sure that we don't get in any more unnecessary lawsuits with these new regulations that you are trying to pass regarding soliciting campaign day on the library. It was mentioned that Ms. Albanese has to go and even break up fights. That's for the sheriff to do, not for Ms. Albanese. That's why it's law enforcement. Well, our elections are very virulent, as you have seen all over social media. People is even on social media fighting hard. These fights cannot be prevented by you, by Ms. Albanese, by the government, by anybody. They will sprout up like in anywhere else, and they have to be called law enforcement for that. And the fact that most, as mentioned here, and I realize since I live here in 91, I'm looking what's happening in the library, I never was accommodated myself in and out of the library by any candidate of any party in all these years. It was only moved my smile to see how people root for their candidates. And I was so proud that people does that and go to vote. So never being inconvenienced by anybody. And so people that is elderly and go and volunteer, they need to be protected from this terrible, very hot sun in this time of the year. And they need something covered over them. A little hat is not sufficient. And people drinking water and having water in their coolers, of course, we have 90 degrees temperature. It's common sense to have that. So honestly speaking, I don't think it is in favor of our elected official, our incumbent officials of any party or any ideology to impose this now. I don't think it's good for the elderly. And if we have elderly, because of the imposing these new rules about no tents, no covers, or anything, and somebody gets hurt, the county might be sued. And it was mentioned already, whether it's a big sign on a truck, looks like somewhere else somebody won. We don't want to get any more lawsuits that cost us so much money to the taxpayers of Flagler County because we err once more. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other public comment on this item? All right, seeing none, we'll bring it back. So we're going to need a motion. I'll just say from my standpoint, as the lone incumbent on the board that's running, I don't think it's appropriate. I would prefer this was outside any cloud of elections where you've got candidates that have already applied and are running, and we're in the middle of an election. It appears like this was brought together specifically to counter, and it could be interpreted to either counter people or activity. And I just prefer to be outside of that bounds. I think we can address it after November when nobody is on a ballot and there's no instance of an election forthcoming, and that way we can look at all the site, because I do think it's complicated. I mean, I think each side is different. I mean, even the library has one side that's shaded and one side that's open to the sun. So one rule doesn't apply to even one site there, and here at GSB, there's no shade for anybody. So I think we can designate areas for where this activity can take place, where it's shaded. I think there's some restrictions and rules we can put in place. I just prefer that we didn't do it now, but that's my
Yeah,
opinion.
it's been talked about for like a year, and I think it just came at the wrong time to protect. So I think if it comes back, we should address amplified sound and,
Yes.
and tables, the actual taking residency at a government building, period, after the elections. But the other thing is, I think we have to make it clear that Ms. Petito, Ms. Albanese, and anyone else who's a steward of a building can erect rules and regulations, and it can be enforced with trespassing if need be during any of these events.
I would ask Mr. Moylan, is amplified sound a reasonable item to exclude as a property owner for the protection of the residents or the tenants that are inside the building?
Yes, we would have findings as to how it can be disruptive or perhaps
That wouldn't need
intimidating.
an ordinance, that could be in an action, at least something. I think that's one thing, I think that, hopefully we can agree, either those library patrons or tenants inside this building shouldn't be subject to that during business hours.
Right. And we're hearing your discussion here. We'll take this direction. Any other direction you want to give us, and we'll come back with revised or more particularized rules.
Mr. O'Brien.
Well, while we're on that subject, on the second version, number 2, maybe I'm not reading this correctly, but that's section 2 on the prohibitions. Paragraph B says individuals may not place or erect a chair, table, umbrella, tent, box, cooler on or in any county properties except at polling places for early voting. Well, it's also a polling place for election day too, so you might want to just clean up that language.
Thank you.
So that's the only thing I thought. I would make a motion that we table this item till after November.
I'll second that.
All right, I have a motion by Commissioner O'Brien and seconded by Commissioner Hanson to table to sometime after November, before the end of the year. Bring it back up.
All right.
Okay. I'll open it back up for public comment again if anybody wanted to weigh in on that motion. Okay.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Okay, thank you. So I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries unanimously. Thank you for that debate. Item 8B, termination of lease of historic courthouse with First Baptist School of Palm Coast and interlocal lease agreement with the School District of Flagler County. This is to consider the request of First Baptist Church of Palm Coast and authorize staff to continue negotiations with the staff of the school district. It's requested by Ms. Petito.
So as you know, we've been working with the current tenant who is looking to vacate in the month of August. He does still have a little bit of time on the lease. I believe it's another 6 or 7 months. We've been in discussion with the school board. They've got a desire to use the facility. It's really to provide to you like a draft and see if we're authorized to negotiate the terms with the school board. They are looking at trying to bring this to 2 workshops. I believe they have a workshop with the school board possibly this week and then again in a couple weeks. So we're trying to clear this up and move forward sometime towards the end of the month. So it's really just for your consideration and approval for us to negotiate with the school board on what those terms may be. It is a little bit different than with the First Baptist School in the sense that the school board does have staff that does maintenance. I just don't know what their desire is, if they would prefer us to do the maintenance on the facility while they occupy it, or if they would be doing the maintenance, and that's going to kind of be the deal point or talking point of negotiating what that looks like to come up with a cost.
Thank you. Questions or comments?
So this would terminate the lease for
First Baptist, yes.
effective as of 8/31,
The end of the month, I believe, yes.
but at that point, you won't have a lease in place with the school board.
We should. We're hoping to bring it back to you at your second meeting. So we're kind of doing it in tandem. The school board has a workshop prior to their regular meeting. So they're looking at discussing it. As we're talking now, they're looking at discussing it as well and then bringing back kind of a fast time frame that it would be in place at your next meeting in August for consideration adoption.
So there'd be no gap in our receipt of rental payments.
There shouldn't be. That's kind of the goal.
Yeah, I mean, a month, if it bled a month, I guess that would be okay. I wouldn't be in favor of terminating the lease, for any length of time without compensation or enforcing the lease provisions. So that doesn't sound like that's an issue. But I would caution, I think maintenance is the big deal here. I mean, we don't want to be stuck with a massive bill over time on that lease. So it's caution.
Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we allow Ms. Petito to accept the termination of lease of the historic courthouse as long as it coincides with the renewal of a lease with the school board.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Hanson, seconded by Commissioner O'Brien. And just to be clear, that if the school district for some reason delays a decision in August, the termination of First Baptist won't be effective until September.
That's the intent of my motion.
Okay.
And in that motion, I'm implying that Ms. Petito has the authority to negotiate. I don't know if I had to say that, but that's implied.
Right, and bring it back to us. Yes, I agree. I think that's clear. I have one clarification. On page 3 of 18, item E, there's an option, and it says 108, and I believe it should say 180.
Correct. It's probably
Okay.
the typo.
So as long as, it might help sometimes where we put numbers next to the words just to make sure that it's clear, but why that stuck out and I noticed that, I have no idea. And I guess the only other thought is everybody with the 2 years, after 2 years, allowing the school district to purchase, because I do think a bigger conversation should be had about the long-range use of the facility. One government entity to the other, I'm okay with. But I do, part of me does think as a historic building, there should be some connections with the Historical Society, and I don't, and then we lose ability, other than as citizens, to kind of to work that way. I know they're very receptive. I heard and listened to their meeting when they talked about the allowing the Historical Society to have some space or some input into their plans with the building. So they're very cognizant of it anyway.
Yeah, the last discussion I had with the Historical Society was, remember the vault room, which is about 700 square feet in the front? That's what they're looking at offering them for the time being.
Okay.
Is that. It's really a security issue and plus need for space. So it's a little less than what the Historical Society had hoped for, but it was a piece.
And I think I may have mentioned to at least one or two of you, we are working on that SMA healthcare facility, the men's residential and intake facility. It had been discussed with SMA Healthcare that should they have the room, they believe they're going to have the room, to take the location that we set up as the access center, which is on the property next to the school, that should that become available when the SMA project is built and they relocate that access center, that is a possibility that you could utilize that for the Historical Society for a museum of some sort, if that's the desire of the board when that becomes available.
Okay. Okay, I'll open it up for public comment.
Celia Puglisi again. Living here since 91 and looking at in the past, we used the courthouse a lot. It's a beautiful building that should be preserved. It's part of the history. I would say #1 building history here in Flagler County should be preserved. I agree with Mr. O'Brien that is a lot of money on maintenance. And we hear here, rental here, rent there. I don't even know how much the county manager have rented this building for as a taxpayer. I don't know how much is the rent. And I don't know if the rent that we are receiving covers the expensive maintenance of such an older building. So why don't we get transparent or where I can see or be informed about how much are we getting in rent right now from the charge, and if it covers the expenses of maintaining this building, which should be properly maintained to preserve it for our history. And second, now they're going to change tenants, how much this schools are going to pay in rent, and also to make sure, like Mr. Dan said, that whatever is done will be done with the schools or whoever, and if the school plans to buy it, that they're not going to bulldozer down, because there's a lot of these things going on around here, pressure to get the land to build something else to benefit somebody, other special interest, and what about our history? So we need to make sure, like Mr. Dan says, that this building is going to be rented for how much, it covers the expenses, or is being rented until now, I was not aware of by the charge, and it covers the expenses, and that if the school's planning to buy it, it's not going to end up like #1 corporate site in the center of Palm Coast, okay? That was kind of historical for us too, and it was destroyed. Many things in Palm Coast being destroyed. We're trying to save our fire station 22 right now, so it won't be bulldozed on the favor of somebody. So you need to make sure that our history is preserved. This is the #1 building that we would like in Flagler County to be preserved, okay? I can have all of your names in the future. It's very important. So we would like to know those details. And if I can figure out where those numbers that Ms. Petito have rented the building for are, I would like to know about it. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. I know they're all public record.
It's in the budget this year. There's actually a bracketed spot for the.
We'll look it up. I'm sorry.
I'll try to send it to you, Celia, when I get a chance. Anything else?
All right, so we've got public comment. We've got a motion, just for clarification. Mr. Hanson, seconded by Mr. Bryan. Okay. All right, we've got public comment. I'll bring it back to the board. All those in favor signify with aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. Thank you all. All right, there's no public hearings today. We'll skip on down to the county administrator report and comments.
Thank you. Just a couple things to go over. As you know, I wanted to make you aware of a submission that we had with FDEP. They have a Trail Go grant. We submitted an application which required a letter of support from our chair. There is no financial match, but there is an in-kind match of $25,000, which will come from staff labor and use of our equipment. The request was submitted for repairs to Lehigh Trail, to the elevated boardwalk, and for some maintenance equipment. For that, it's $200,000 grant application. If we are successful in receiving the grant, we'll go ahead and bring it back to you for acceptance. And I did want to make you aware that I'm scheduled to make a presentation at the Dunes District Board this Friday at 9:30. Is to discuss consideration of potential funding to aid in beach nourishment efforts through a potential bridge surcharge. And the funding would be used to offset some ongoing costs for that section of the coastline. And information came in while we were here. I got it about 11 o'clock. It does show the current condition of the beach with some escarpment They did put the project on hold, the dredge, depending on the weather, they're anticipating or hoping to come back Wednesday. They are looking at the calculated loss of sand and will work on fixing that area. So just wanted to share with you that email string, so you'll see it later.
Okay, great.
And
thank
that's
you.
it, concludes my report.
Thank you. Mr. Hadid, you're next.
I just have one thing to speak to you about. At the last meeting, we talked about the PACE state agency. And so we have an appointment authority. In other words, we have the ability to appoint a member to that. It doesn't have to be a member of the commission. Any person who is a resident of Florida is the rule. And whomever we appoint has the ability to appoint a fourth board member in conjunction with the representation from the city of Kissimmee. You all know that the PACE agency, the state PACE agency, has been mired in some controversy. A bill was signed by the governor to reform the processes so that there is greater accountability, greater consumer protection as the program goes forward. You also are aware, I've advised you, that there continues to be some controversy concerning the Florida PACE agency. Before we go forward with considering what appointment we would make or even whether we would make an appointment, I would like the opportunity to use the FAC policy development process, which is underway now, to identify these, shall we say, legacy issues that appear to exist for some sort of resolution. Those policy positions are due to FAC on August 9th, I believe is the date, on or before August 9th. So I would like the board to grant some authority to work on that, to work on such a policy statement for adoption by the FAC, which would come in the fall, in time for the legislative session that commences next March. And to give me the leeway to consult with the various counties that I've been working with, our own folks, and in particular, there is a work group of county attorneys that are working on PACE issues of which I'm a member. So that is what I suggest we do in the short term before we embark on any decision making.
Is everybody okay?
Yeah, and just for information, I got a letter last week that I was appointed to the policy committee.
Oh,
Yeah, so we have a vehicle.
we have a ringer.
We have a vehicle.
Well,
I didn't know.
You have, they have like 6 different policy committees.
Yeah, I don't remember which one it
Right.
was, but it was.
I'm on 2. I don't know how many you were on.
Yeah.
That would come under, I think, finance and administration.
Yes.
Yeah, there was a
That's the
little
policy
glitch
committee.
bill
That's
last
correct.
year
That's
that-
where it came under before.
Right.
Finance and administration.
Right.
Yeah, I'll have to look and see which one I was appointed to. It was
Well,
out of the blue. I didn't know I was going to do that.
It's in September, and around 21st is the next policy meeting in Panama City Beach. So that's why the staff has time to review it before then.
Yep.
And really, just a public announcement to any staff, if there's any, if anybody has, thinks that they see a deficiency or something that can be addressed in policy at the state level, now is the time. Bring it to us, bring it to Mr. Hanson or I, and we can help formulate a policy to send to FAC for review.
Question for Mr. Hadid. Is Palm Beach County on that group? Because I thought
Yes, it is.
They were the most aggrieved. I think they really started the conversation several years ago about that.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's good.
So just is consensus for Mr. D to spend some time
Yeah,
on it, okay?
yeah. And we'll figure out which one of us could actually submit it. That'd be good if it came out under one of our,
Well, I haven't checked the submission rules. I think the county
I
submits
think
it.
it comes as the county.
as a county?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
One of you may have to go and appear,
Right,
Yeah,
even if you're not on the committee
Right.
to
yeah,
present it.
yeah. We can do that.
Well, you'll also know the roster of those who are on that committee,
right,
so you have the opportunity to talk to them should you desire.
right. All right, thank you. Anything else?
No, sir, that's it. Thank you.
All right, very good. We'll open it back up for community outreach, public comment. All right, seeing none, we'll bring it back for individual commissioner reports. Mr. Hanson, anything?
No, just an editorial comment on the library thing, that it's really a function of bad actors. It's not so much that there's tents and chairs but the main bad actor is gone. So we don't have to worry about him. I think we'll probably have a good election and without any problems. So just an editorial comment.
Thank you,
on that.
sir. Ms. Pennington?
Should I give an editorial?
Yeah.
No, I actually see it as different as a risk with the tents because the wind catches them, they blow on cars, as I experienced personally, and then I actually think people should, we should just be careful with those. That's my biggest concern. And then I actually said, what's to keep anybody from setting up business and shop right in your? I mean, maybe I'll be out there selling trinkets. There's nothing to protect your buildings. So I don't actually have any comments. Our community's doing pretty well out in the West. Knock on wood.
All right, very good. Commissioner O'Brien? All right, I will say I read Commissioner O'Brien where wanted to congratulate you. I think a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Chamber.
Oh,
is
yeah, I
what
read that.
So
Yeah.
congratulations on that. Appreciate that. I know you've worked a long time for the benefit of the community and the business community, so thank you. I think I'm done. I'm glad we are addressing, we have an upcoming meeting with Bulow. I'm disheartened to hear there's more issues that we have to address with them, but that's, again, all public record, all of those water quality tests, we should be able to get all of that from the regulatory agencies.
Can I ask a question? I apologize.
Absolutely.
When you were, I was in the restaurant when you were having that part of the discussion. I mean, they're regulated by the state just like any other utility,
Right.
correct? Are they under any kind of monitoring or they're?
Well, they should be. I mean, I know annually everybody does. I don't know if they're under any other more
Like we had that
restricted-
issue with Plantation Bay, but I didn't know if it had deteriorated to that level.
Sometimes if they're cited, they have more strict requirements until they get it back up to
Yeah.
standard, but I don't know at this point.
I don't know. I think what you're referring to is a consent order.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
And I'm not sure if they're under a consent order, but I know that they would have to do at minimum monthly reports, whether it's discharge monitoring reports or their water quality reports. That information would be available on DEP's portal, so I can take a look and see what we can find out.
Got it.
All right, everybody be safe and stay dry. We'll be wet for a couple days here, but have some prayers for our folks in the Big Bend area. The same people that got hit with Idalia are under the same stress and water and rising tides again. So,
Yes, sir. Move we adjourn?
all right, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second. All right, thank you, everybody.